We
Yeah,
are
I'm
ready
I'm ready
to
now.
begin. If you guys are all settled in, we can introduce
I'm in
ourselves,
wonder.
and then I can introduce the first prompt.
All right, so are we doing like an official intro type situation here,
Yeah,
or is
yeah,
it
just a
just like?
little thing about you. Just
Oh no no
whatever.
no 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 no! I'm not talking about me introducing myself. I'm talking about the actual podcast itself. It's like
Oh
welcome
yeah,
to.
sure. I can do that. I actually have a Google Doc for
They
that.
make it official.
That's
Chris in it.
sure. Yeah, I'll do that. Since you guys know what it is, but you're right. Yeah, a lot of other people have no idea what this is. So
Exactly. Introduce your concept. Make it
good
known.
point. Good
Shout it from the
point.
heavens.
See, this is why I got Ragnell, Shelly. This is why he's here. He's feeding me
Gotcha, gotcha.
ideas too.
Reminder: I'm not the content creator here.
No, professional content creator, guys. I've been doing it for a year.
I've
Professional
got the
content creator.
mindset,
You do,
not the
yeah.
grind set though.
It's totally fine. I mean, even Elon Musk bounces off ideas for other people. Random discussions. Sometimes he'll come up with stuff. But anyway,
Oh, don't. Anyways.
anyways. Well, welcome to the Quickcast, guys. We're still workshopping that name, but don't worry about it. Quickcast is a controlled but open space for creators, veterans, and casual players to discuss topics and issues with Eternal Return. Each week or so, I will create prompts based on the conversations in the Eternal Return community, and anything we observe. If there are any topics we think worth talking about, bring it to the panel, and we'll talk about it, or I'll look into it and go from there. If there are any topics that are like targeted towards a specific group, I'll save that for another panel and grab certain people on. Um, we will likely never come to a solid answer on any of these prompts, as they are mostly opinionated and drastically vary based on experience and where you are, and person to person. But it will be interested. It's kind of just to see where people sit, get opinions from various parts of the community, and just talk and hang out and get to know each other. So yeah, that's the general idea. How it will work is basically I will invite 3 to 4 people, keep it small groups, and provide a prompt to discuss. The group will work in a circle to provide our initial thoughts on the subject, and then proceed to discuss and respond to each other. We're allowed to abstain from any given prompt or spend as much time on a single prompt as we need. If there's any issues worth discussing, feel free to bring them up. Anybody in chat can say something. Anybody on your stream, if you guys are streaming, can say something, and you can go, "Hey, this person said this thing," and if you think it's relevant, if you think it's pertinent, or like we should say something, feel free. You guys are still allowed to add your opinions, and if I see something worth noting, I'll bring it up.
I will also have the chat open, so I will be seeing anyone chiming in, and I
Absolutely.
might piggyback off
Yeah,
that.
you
Who
guys can
knows?
totally have everybody's open. Anyway, without further ado, I'll introduce myself just a little bit. I am Celeste, or Kalis, also known as Nocturne. I'm a new streamer. I've been here for about a year. I found this community and thought it was super, super cool. I immediately fell in love because of just how awesome everybody's been since I joined. They've all been super interested in everything I've been doing. So I've been pretty much like diehard committed to this game since I started on February 3rd. I am a full-time streamer, so I'm here every day. I stream at 3 p.m. PST, so you can expect to see me then into the night. So yeah, I mean, I'm a casual player, just picked it up, and that's basically me. Shelly, I haven't interacted with you too much. I know very little about you.
Well, I'll say this here. I'm just a Canadian Twitch streamer. I've gotten into the game about 2 years ago. Then I've kind of fallen off a little bit and got back into it around August of 2023. And I've been here pretty much ever since. Mostly a casual player. I do get dragged into some ranked games sometimes. But yeah, I really like the community. And yeah, the game's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Right. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, so I am not a content creator. I am just a guy who enjoys the video game, but I have been here not since the beginning, but pretty close to it. I've been playing now for close to 4.5 years, mind you, there have been a few hiatuses here and there between that. It's not 4.5 consecutive years, but I always come back. And right now, I'm actually probably on my longest stretch of sticking with the game without falling off of it. I
We
don't think
always
I've
come
taken
back.
a break in like 3.5 seasons.
Hmm.
So it's my biggest consecutive streak. But
Interesting.
point is I also technically qualify as a casual player. I do play rank periodically, but you'll typically find me in norms or hosting custom lobbies and whatnot, as opposed
Right.
to going into competitive. But I digress. Yeah, that's
All
me.
right. Yeah, this group, from my understanding, is mostly casual. We've got some opinions that can kind of feed into a little bit of the ranked side. Whether you agree with it or not, you have at least like some level of understanding about the competitive side of things, which is super, super helpful. So it's like if I'm discussing something, even if you agree with me, you can go, well, I've heard that a lot of like or you can say there's some opinions about this thing that a lot of people share, share observations you've made from that side of things because you've been there. So it'll be super helpful. But yeah, anyway, are you guys ready for the first prompt?
Hit it.
All
As ready
right.
as we can be.
All right. The topic of today will be the new player experience. Very general. Very general. The prompt is, should Eternal Return shift to a more casual / new player focus? Now, let me elaborate a little bit on that and where my thinking is. My observations is that much of the resources that this developer team has poured into the game has been focused mainly on events and constant patches, which has served to balance the game very, very well. I think the game is in a incredibly balanced state. Like personally, I don't think there's any characters that really like feel too broken. Like if I run into a character and lose, it's not because the character is necessarily broken or like better than me. They might be stronger, but I don't necessarily feel at an extreme disadvantage. So it feels very, very balanced, very, very good right now. Um, my thinking is that the casual side barely gets any attention. And I mean, there's not a whole lot of events that purely focus on the casual things. Yeah, we get skins every now and then. We get like rewards, but like it's interesting how much we pour into the competitive scene to keep it alive. And what I've observed from other games is that oftentimes when you decide to focus more on the casual and try to improve the basic experience of your general audience, you pull a lot of resources away from the competitive side of things. It can oftentimes mean less frequent updates, less frequent character releases. Um, Seasons will feel longer because there's not as much going on. Whereas in Eternal Return, it's like every new week there's something, right? Every new patch there's always something. So I think that honestly, in my opinion, um, we don't need this many updates. We don't, because your competitive scene is doing just fine. You have a very solid, committed player base. Your problem is that you can't bring in more competitive players if you can't even get players in the first place. If your casual scene is not improved enough, you're not going to bring in new gamers. Those gamers are not going to become the veterans. You can't make veterans out of nowhere, right? So you have to make your casual general audience more enjoyable so that they are willing to play long enough to become those committed players. So from my standpoint on this topic is that we should start shifting a little bit more towards casual, and I can elaborate on that in a sec after you guys share your opinions on it a little bit. We'll start with Shelly if you want.
Uh, I kind of agree to this. We do need more focus to like kind of helping like new players, like because back when I first started playing this, I definitely struggled a lot for like trying to learn how this game works. Because there was like some things like that I didn't like know, like preparing to get like Tree of Life or Meteor on like day 2 when it happens,
Right.
or just like learning about like which character is in which role in general and how to like work into a team fight. It's just that's all I can really say about that. Can't think of anything
True.
else at the moment. Just
Okay.
improve helping the new players get better is definitely I feel like a focus they should try to do.
Yeah. Anything you want to
Like
add,
making it
Ragnell?
easier.
Oh,
understands
I
it.
have a mountain of things to say. Don't worry.
All right, let me sit up real
Okay,
quick.
so before we even touch this subject, I feel
Okay,
like it's jumping the shark a bit
sure.
because before we can talk about them shifting their focus on how they want to like whether what they want to prioritize or how they want to advertise or what crowd they want to cater to or anything like that, we need to establish what is the new player experience right now, which I feel like
Ah,
currently you are the most equipped to explain because you are
okay.
the newest player, which I have other things to say about that, but you have the new player experience. So
Yeah.
what has been your experience learning the game?
All right. Well, I could definitely tell you what my first month has been like. Uh, when I've initially picked up the game, the only reason I was able to kind of get a proper feel for it before this was before they were like just before they were worth the tutorial. So I got that initial tutorial, which we all know is god awful. Oh my god, it was so bad. It tells you absolutely nothing about the game. Nothing. Like this, it was more cinematic than anything, and then you get immediately thrown into bot games for like the next 10 hours. So sometimes
Oh,
more.
so it's funny. That is the revamped tutorial.
Yeah, I haven't
So
played it
the
yet, but I'm interested to hear what it is now.
no, the one you just described, it's all cinematic. That is the revamped
Oh
one.
God.
Oh
All
Yeah.
right,
no.
If you if
you'll have to tell us in a sec.
yeah, finish your thought before I
All
tell
right.
you about that.
So I mean, we all know that everyone knows that it's a shitty tutorial, and then you get placed into bot games for like 20, 30 levels, right? We all know that. But what you don't understand is that it feels really, really bad to everyone I tried to bring into this game, trying to learn everything. No guidance whatsoever. You have the in-game guide, but it barely does anything to tell you why or how to do these things. You have you have like these micro things that all these veterans have been doing forever. Like even when they're not even playing super hard, it's so muscle memory to everyone who's been playing forever that you're just gonna get stomped for like the first I don't even know how many games. It felt so bad just repeatedly getting into the match, playing for a little bit, getting my full build on like night 2, night 3, and then getting absolutely dunked on. Sometimes I didn't even make it that far because I get found by someone and jumped by someone who's already full build in like 30 seconds. It feels god awful. There's no explanation for any of this stuff, and it goes for any competitive game, but I feel like Eternal Return, out of all the competitive games I've played in the past, feels the worst when it comes to jumping in, because at least other games have the player base to make it so, oh well, there's gonna be Smurfs in any game you play, right? Every game has Smurfs, but it's not quite as often. With an Eternal Return, it is literally like everyone. It's just about everyone. There's, I would say, only maybe like 2-3% of my games are humans, and 4 or 5% of that is bots, and then the rest is veterans that have like scrimming or competitive players who are just not playing ranked, or straight up smurfs that are just having fun trampling norms. It's terrible, and the only way you can fix that is by increasing your new player like populace. It's really just a population problem. There's nothing you can do in the game, and that kind of elaborates on my prompt in why I think that we should be shifting, because there's nothing you can do to the game balance right now. Palette patches are not making your game more enjoyable for new players. They don't care about Justina's nerf. They don't care about whatever you're doing to any given character. It doesn't matter to them. They're barely picking up the character they found as is. They're not going to immediately go through your patch notes and go, oh, yeah, I see why this is good. This is, oh, a nerf to this character. Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Like, I looked through, that's what happened to me, is I looked through the patch notes because I wanted to review them for people who did care, but I just read them. I didn't know why anything was a good or bad patch. I didn't know what was going on. Like, I don't care. I barely know what these characters are in the first place without looking at them. Like, it's not relevant. It just, these constant patches do nothing to bring more people in. And honestly, we're pouring way too many resources into it.
I agree and disagree, but I'll get into that later.
Okay.
But I want to actually look into the tutorial itself. So we'll start with talking about the one that's currently presented in game that
Yes.
you can boot up right now and you can open. So I do like, well, hmm, I do and I don't like that it has that cinematic touch to it, because on the one hand, it's great that it gets you invested in the world and the characters, and it's presented to you in an interesting way. And
Absolutely.
I will say that the initial steps of the tutorial are pretty good at getting, it's getting your feet wet. Like,
Hmm.
okay, it tells you how to play the video game.
Yes.
It doesn't tell you how to play the video game very well, but at least in broad strokes will give you like a rough idea of what to do.
Yeah, it gives you
The
kind of like an
problem,
example of like how the core mechanics or what they are, but not how to do them
yeah,
really.
the problem is the same cinematic focus. So
Yeah.
it focuses more on the narrative of whatever moment is being portrayed in the tutorial, which in the first one, you see Yuki get jumped by Jackie and
Hmm.
Laura, his team gets wiped, but then he comes back and then it's up to him to avenge his squad
Yeah.
that he lost.
The little
And
moment
that's
with
like,
Eva.
yeah, no, well, I'm focusing specifically on Yuki.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the first one you find. Yeah.
yeah, but the point is it's compelling, it's interesting
Hmm.
and stuff like that, but you're so focused on the narrative part of it that you don't actually really learn
Yeah.
anything. And the game doesn't do a very good job of actually like reinforcing anything that it's trying to teach
Dude,
you.
I stuck
Like,
around because of the cinematic stuff. I'm an RPG player. I was invested immediately. I thought this game was going to be full of some lore and like I was going to get into the characters. Like they present
the
this lore to me and then they just do nothing with it afterwards.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that's one of I think it's actually kind of a rug pull because you see this and you think that there's going to be some payoff to the investment of like, oh, I'm going to see more of this. But no, that's outside the tutorial, there is nothing else like that in the game.
Yeah.
There's not even like a pre-game cutscene or anything like that. All you have is you load into a lobby, you get to run around with a bunch of other people, and then you're in the game. And the closest you get to a cinematic is your windscreen. Aside from that, there's nothing else like this that has such heavy character focus, which is kind of weird considering the fact that all these characters have a lot of personality and stuff like that. But that's kind of getting away from the whole new player thing. So I'm not going to
Yeah.
really get into that because that's its own problem.
Oh yeah,
But the
that's a
point
different day.
is I think off the bat, that itself is not very great.
No.
However, they did very recently add the guide section, and that I think is actually significantly better, but it has its own caveats. So, one thing it does very well is it highlights all of the core features of the game in very basic detail. It has key terminology highlighted, and it even has little videos with literal like boxes highlighting what it's talking about so you cannot possibly miss it.
Hmm.
And it was like, hey, this is this, this is this, this is what you want to do. And it gave practical information that if you actually go through it, which only takes maybe 5-10 minutes, you will understand any like the game entirely in broad strokes.
Right.
It is so much more effective than the actual tutorial. The problem is that it's not very interactive. So it's basically just trying to retain information that you're being given secondhand. So that's fine and all. And, it doesn't really cover every little nitty gritty detail, but it does give you enough of a foundation to work with. So, sorry about that. So you can kind of go from there. But there's also a detailed guide section in the corner that you can click on that actually goes into detail about everything.
Hmm.
Because, case in point, the basic guide doesn't even bring up VLS at all. It doesn't tell you about that. It mentions hyperlooping, but not
Right.
VLS. And it also doesn't mention Lumi at all.
Hmm.
But the detailed guide does. But the problem is the detailed guide, while it has images when you click on a tab, it's tab after tab with sub tabs, and it's very dry. It's not really anything that most normal people are going to go out of their way to do because, first of all, it's
Right.
already hidden in another menu. And on top of that, it's homework. No one wants to do homework. This is the same problem that a lot of other games I've played because, as I've alluded to off of this panel,
Hmm.
I play a lot of fighting games, and fighting games have a very similar problem with the new player experience, wherein there's only so much you can really do to teach someone how to play a game because
Yeah.
the game needs to be learned through experience and through feel. And it's not something that can be taught, but they still have to try because, of course, someone needs to know what they're doing when they go into the game. But this, like it's hard to make a good
What a
tutorial
Tifu
for
ad?
something like
The
that.
hell?
And a lot of the information you're gonna want that's actually pertinent is gonna be found either off of the game, which is not good,
Right.
or it's gonna be fed to you in a way that's not interesting and people will bounce off of it. Because as I mentioned, nobody wants to sit there and spend 20 to 30 minutes reading a bunch of tabs that they have little context for, especially if they're a new player.
Hmm.
and then just try to like retain all of this information, because that's just how the game works. Forget how your character works. Forget moment to moment decisions that you need to
Hmm.
make very quickly. Like it just it's a step in the right direction, especially the basic guide that actually has all the visuals
Right.
and all that stuff. But it's tough. It is tough. I will say this is definitely probably the best job they've done so far of trying to actually teach the game. I just
Oh,
wish that
certainly.
it had like a voiceover at least or something.
Yeah. Also, Abyss, thanks for the 4 months. I mean, we've had the operator forever, basically, right? Whenever they added that, not relevant. I had a big problem with the operator actually, trying to introduce all these different things. There's so much to deal with that it teaches you, but like in such a way that I don't learn anything from that. The only reason I like learned anything at all was because I watched a bunch of guide videos from people who made them years ago, or like j- just people that would keep me feeding me info. Like I had people in my chat that were constantly giving me like like reviews and things and stuff to look at, and like, oh, you can do this, or oh, you can do that. And how I learned the characters was actually from the DAC.gg site that I was taught. Like I would have no idea that existed. It's one of the best resources, but it's not even made by the developers. It's a third party, isn't it? Like it's a community made thing, huh?
Yeah, and
Um,
I'm pretty sure that they themselves pull statistics from it. So
yeah,
I'm pretty sure that they
Hmm.
should actually like there should be some type of like clickable thing in the
yeah.
client to bring you straight to it.
Why would they not support that? It's such a good resource. It's so
Yeah.
good. But yeah, anyway, I mean, I looked at a character, or not a character, a pro player from Korea play Katya, and I like sat there for several hours and I analyzed what he was doing. Now that only teaches me so much, right? I can't know why he's making decisions, but it helps me kind of get a footing for how I can like practice a start, basically. It gave me something to introduce. Like basically just focus on getting your items, go into the practice range, load up, and then just run it down until you can muscle memory memorize this start route, right? It gave me just something to go off of. So what I ended up doing was I picked up Katya because she's super easy to learn, memorized a route from a pro player, and then put that into regular games, and I started just progressively getting better and better and better at fights, getting more brave because I would finish my start so early, and so I wouldn't get griefed anymore. Like I don't get griefed in my game, so at least in all of my games it feels good because sometimes I'm the griefer, or I'll finish my build and I'll go join my team, and I consistently can play the game more because I've gotten a little better at it. But I only learned that because the community told me how to do so. The game did not do anything to tell me how to do that. So it was entirely background knowledge. Everything I've learned about the game so far, the game has taught me nothing about. All of this information I've pulled from other outside resources. It doesn't help me. I just feel like the game has done absolutely nothing to teach me all this stuff. The operator only gave me a handful of crumbs for where to look for. It just, it, it does not help at all. And it's like they're kind of just relying on the content on YouTube that creators have already made to kind of pick up the slack in that regard. I've heard from, I talked to some other creators. I won't name them, just to I've talked to them, and some other people from a long time ago told me that it's kind of just a battle that they've had to fight for a while, like years, where it's like they just will not fix that until now, of course. It's been a thing forever, and like they've constantly just been battling the developers, and the developers will just say, "Well, just make guide videos. Just make guide videos. Teach the players how to play the game." Like it.
Yeah, it's like, guys, you're supposed to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of your job. We're gonna make videos on it anyway, but like,
Yeah, like, and the worst part too is you cannot make evergreen content for this
mm-mm.
game because it gets updated so frequently and so drastically
And the
sometimes
only
that nothing
characters
is
that get
consistent.
consistent updated guides are the relevant ones. So if you're playing any character that isn't completely like at all relevant to the meta, if nobody plays your character, there's gonna be nothing for it. There's only one hedging guide, and it's from 3 years ago. It tells me nothing about how to play this character because she's completely different. So I'm on my own. The only resource I have is analyzing a pro player. That's it. That's all I have. The best resource I have is not even in the game, and I had to use an outside source to find it. Like, are you kidding me? Oh my
Yeah,
god.
like case in point, look at the newest character, right? Justina.
Yeah.
You can't even make like a guide that was made for her on release, assuming one was made by somebody, is already irrelevant because she's already lost stuff since then. She doesn't have the movement speed buff that she got when she ran out of
Right.
her energy gauge. So it's already like, oh, well, you don't have that anymore. So, you know, like, sure, in the grand scheme of things, that might be considered like a minor thing, but you know,
Right.
there's other characters that have completely different functionality. Like, if you watched an Ava guide from before 1.0, then you'd be set up for a really bad time because back then, in the early access days, her E skill, which is kind of, it's not even really a mobility skill. I struggle to call it that, but the point is whenever she
Hmm.
used that move, she was able to go through walls. She can't do that anymore. So if you just clicked on an old guide and didn't know that and thought, oh, cool, I can use this to maneuver over walls, and then you actually try to rely on that information trying to pick her up, you're gonna be very surprised when you don't go through the wall and then you die for it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky that the hedging jump is still relevant. They didn't change that. It's like the one thing they didn't
Yes.
change.
Yes. Her biggest change was her W and the
Yeah.
way her fear
It
works.
just it
But
goes to show like just a lot of characters who don't get a lot of attention have just fallen completely to the wayside, and it's like for me it's interesting to pick up characters like that. Like why have they fallen to the wayside? But I'm also not I'm the minority. Most players are going to pick up characters that are getting the most attention, right? Because they want to pick up characters that are strong. That's just inevitable. It's just psychology. People pick up what most people play, and they will go find guides on this character so they can feel powerful, or something that's easy to learn that is just powerful, like Jackie. Um, I don't know, Shelly, do you have anything to add to that, or are you just kind of
Well,
hanging out?
when it comes to like learning, like picking up things that like the game didn't really tell you about much, or they just didn't like keep me engaged to like learn about it, is I'll say this right now. Playing my entire playtime for this game has been about like 564 hours. 1 month ago, I just learned how to ping.
oh dear.
I did not know how to ping. I just
Oh my
talked about
god.
everything through like channels, like oh typing,
Like
oh someone's at cemetery, careful.
I know about
Like
You
basic
know,
ping. I don't even know how is there like a ping wheel or is it like I have no idea
you
what it
hold
is.
Alt and then hold like left
What?
click. Yeah,
yeah, there's
What?
two different ping wheels. There's one with control and one with alt.
What?
there's two. What? See, I
I
Yes.
didn't
don't
know this
even know how
part
to
now.
do that. What? Oh my
Yeah,
god.
there's one for general communication with your team about pinging like information, and then there's one that are more general statements like I need food, I need drinks, or where do we go, or okay, I acknowledge that,
What?
stuff like that.
Oh my god. Yeah, like this just goes to show like the game just has so many things that it doesn't teach you. The tutorial gives you something to start with, but let's be honest, it does not give you a good footing. It really does not like give you too much to work with. Most of what you're going to learn from this game is just going to come out of other players and doing your homework because that's just the same experience everyone has to deal with.
So funny you
Yeah.
mentioned that actually, because I actually was curious about this myself. They actually do mention this in the guide section.
Really?
However, it's very specifically under the detailed guides or
Ivan.
section.
Uh,
Yeah, hi.
Under beginner tips, not its own section about communication. It is under beginner tips. And then at the very end, there is a tab called quick communication that does tell you about the different ping wheels.
Oh my god, what? Maybe I need
So
to
it
play
is
this thing.
there.
I need to play this.
But
Like,
again, that's still a fairly recent addition. That's not something
right.
that's been in the game for,
Oh, yeah,
not even 2 months yet
Ivan's
as of the
here.
recording of
Oh,
this.
yeah,
So
yay.
yes,
I
hello,
let's
just got
Ivan.
here.
go.
I don't know how long I'm gonna be here, but I just needed to pass by because I did promise I'd show up.
That's
It is
fine,
nice
man.
to have you all the same. I don't know
Yeah.
if you tuned in to catch what we've been talking about up to this point,
I
but
have been dead.
okay, fair enough. It's all right.
Like, what's the
So
talking point we're on now? Because I'm actually
So
fairly interested.
it is the same
essentially,
talking point that was. Oh, sorry, I'm not gonna
okay,
usurp your
yeah,
post. Go ahead.
essentially, we're just talking about like the new player experience and generalized things that are we have problems with. Like basically the tutorial, how there like you immediately get thrown into bot games, and then after that you're immediately thrown into veteran games, and like the player experience in just generalized games teach you absolutely nothing about how to play it. The tutorial, while it's updated, I haven't played it, but Ragnell just did before this, so he's been telling us like kind of how it was and how it's not exactly much different from the one beforehand. It's
No. You are misunderstanding. You have played the updated tutorial. That is my point.
oh
So,
god.
yeah, so we were
Yeah,
talking
it's
about,
not
as I
bad.
just mentioned, the tutorial, and I was also overviewing the guide section that recently got added because I
Oh
think that's probably
no.
it's one of the best things that they've done to try to actually help people understand what is going on in this game. But to circle back, yeah, so as I've mentioned, you have played the revamped tutorial because the one
What?
currently in the game is the revamped one. Originally,
No.
okay, so originally what the tutorial was is it spent maybe like a minute or so giving you a build that was just some random build it threw together and told you, okay, go gather these items. And then once you finished your build, it tasked you with just clearing out the lobby. It was just a lobby of bots. It was like 12 or 13 of them, and you just had to kill everybody. That was the tutorial.
Yeah, it was a really awful tutorial,
Oh
and
my
it always has
god.
been. The tutorial and the new player experience has always, I think this has already been brought up, been from either having friends in the community, asking around the community, or watching a streamer. That's always been the main way you learn the game,
Right.
and that very much so needs to change, especially because within the tutorial itself, I see way too many people going into Norms games at their very first game ever as a crit where it doesn't even show the correct build and what doesn't explain scalings and dual scalings and anything at all, actually.
Yeah, there's nothing that tells you what kind of archetype the character you're
Oh
picking
my
is,
god.
which gets especially confusing with characters that have weird stat quirks, like
Yeah.
Adela that gets weird scaling off attack speed. Like,
Yeah.
what? She's a caster. Why would you care about attack speed? And then
Mhm.
you read her passive, it's like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, like the game, I think it's very common for a lot of people to complain and or bitch about the new player experience because
Yeah.
when we were getting anyone into this game is really really difficult. I'm grateful that I got in during a time where the game was changing a lot, so
Mhm.
a lot of the community was open because I got into the game at the very first season off launch, official launch.
Yeah. I
So the
like
community
I'm
was a lot
super
more
lucky
active.
that the community immediately jumped in on me on the first hour of my stream. Like if they had not been there for the first stream, if Golfer and Saren weren't there to like feed me tips, if I was like, you know what, it's probably just luck that they showed up. I was like, no,
Yeah.
it's a pattern. It's got to be. Like these guys were super cool about it, and I wanted to just stick around and give it another shot. If they weren't there, I probably would have just left day one because let's be honest, this game like would have just felt the same as all other MOBAs, and I actually genuinely hate the MOBAs most part. Like I don't think until this game I've found one that I like, honestly. I mean, I
Yeah,
played
that's rough.
Mobile Legends, but that's the closest thing I've gotten. It's just, like
Yeah, the new player experience for MOBAs in general has always been awful, and in this game
mhm.
it's really, really bad because of the fact the community is actually really small, which means you're not running into other new players off your first ever games. You're running into people who are like, I don't know, 100,000, maybe 10,000 game veterans
Right.
in
Yeah,
quick
I
play and
mentioned that.
ranked,
It's like you're getting
and it's
immediately
just
thrown into like hardcore competitive players that have been around for years. I'll
yeah.
stop for a
So
moment
like,
and give you even this is Ivan, obviously, you guys know.
yeah.
Um He's another creator. I'll let him introduce himself real quick, and then we can kind of get his opinion on some of these things and just go from there.
Amateur caster, Ivanthenotsoterrible. I've streamed the game and I've been high low multiple times.
Well, there you
I
go.
don't do
So you've been around
Nice.
for a while. Like, how many years would you say you've been playing?
about a year now, a little over a
Oh,
year, and
okay.
it's actually not that long. I'm not a veteran. I have not been
Yeah.
here since
Okay, so
pre-release,
yeah.
but I've been high elo for I believe 3 seasons now, going on 4.
Okay.
So I
Oh
do think
shit.
I at least have some semblance of an opinion,
Right.
considering
Yeah.
this is the very first season I've ever peaked below Mithril.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I will actually say, speaking to the new player experience again, so I have talked to a few other people that have recently started the game, and we have a few people in the Eternal Connections Discord, which you should join, by the way, if you're not in it.
Yeah, join that, by the way.
Uh, yeah, little plug. There you go. You're welcome, Grubs. But anyways, a couple of people in there recently started playing, and some of them have not even playing the game for a month yet, but already play as though they've been playing the game for like years,
Yeah.
which is crazy to me because I've seen many people come from other games like League of Legends and whatnot that have experience in the MOBA genre, but they struggle to pick this game up because it's just so different.
Yes.
It's very much its own thing. So I'm curious, like, what makes the difference for them where something clicks and they just understand the game?
Yeah.
Because for them, it's like, okay, you've been playing for not even a month and you're already keeping up with someone like me who's been playing the game for almost 2,000 hours. Like, hello? Actual prodigy?
Yeah, there's
I would
go
say
ahead.
it's most likely just like maybe picking up characters from other games because I hear some people like they pick up Rozzy after playing Lucian from League or maybe Callista and then they'll understand Rozzy and they'll be good at Rozzy, but like that's just how it is. Some characters are similar to other characters they played in the
Right.
past, so
I
that
mean,
could be a
Yeah,
possibility sometimes.
Yeah.
that
Katya
is
is
fair.
literally she's copy and paste of a lot of other characters that I can think of
Yeah.
Leslie from Mobile Legends, Caitlyn from League. It's literally just the combination of those two characters. I mean, like exactly, like one for one. It is so funny. Like I picked her up immediately, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know how this works.
I'm actually really mad because one of those new players I was just talking about really like they made me realize that Isaac is just Xin Zhao, and I'm like, how have I never come to that conclusion? The moment they said it, I was like, I'm so mad that I immediately understand.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's so funny. There's a lot of like one for one crossovers. I mean, she is just the quintessential sniper, and there's some characters I can say that like are genuinely unique, unique designs, unique characters, unique gameplay. But it's really hard to make like new things because there's just so many MOBAs and so many characters. League has over 170 characters, so it's hard to create something new that doesn't feel like something that's already been created. MOBAs have been around for a very long time. Many of them are just like archaic and be run on a toaster at this point because of how old they are. So, you're gonna have characters like that. Like I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're just copy pasting everything, if you don't have any unique characters, then there's a problem. But I think this game has actually plenty of unique characters that have at least unique designs, unique personalities. Justina, I feel like, is kind of unique. I mean, less so on the personality side, to be fair, but her design is very unique. I like it. I like the dual cannons. Like I like her concept. I like everything about it and how she plays. Except when I get stomped by her or when Ragnell's playing her. But anyway.
But to bring us back around, so oh my goodness, I just had something in my head. Actually, keep going, it'll come
Yeah,
back to
feel
me.
free to take a moment. It'll probably pop back in. But yeah, I mean, like, dude, the player base for the new players, the casuals, is so bad. And honestly, I think that we need to start pulling some resources from the top level gameplay because I think honestly the game is in such a state. Do we really, really need a balance patch like every other week? Do we really need to release characters so fast? We have 70 something characters, right? And that's not a lot. But I think that it actually helps this game that they don't have a lot. And if I need to elaborate on that, I totally can. I think that a lot of other games I've just completely disregarded getting into because there's no point in trying to learn other characters. They've been out for years. I tried to learn League for like a good 50 hours before I gave up completely. I'm like, there's just no point. I'm getting into a game that's been around for a decade or longer, and there's 170 something characters, all with 4 or more abilities. There's no way in hell I'm gonna remember all of this. And I heard there were comments like, "Oh, well, you don't need to remember all of them. You just need to know like the popular characters. So only analyze the ones that you see a lot." And that probably narrows it down to probably half the cast. But like, it just sounds like homework. It just sounds like so much work. It would take me years to get into League. It's only probably going to take me a year to get into this one because it feels a lot more accessible. There's a whole lot of small little things that you can learn over time, but I don't feel like this game is so complex that you can't just like pick it up and learn it. You just got to do your homework. I will give this game the
So
benefit of like the gold stamp of holy shit, this is like one of the few competitive games I can think of that doesn't feel like a massive pain to get into.
so it's
I
funny that
mean,
you say that you think that they release characters too quickly because uh this is very different from what they used to do. Now we get a character like basically once every like 6 weeks or so, give
Okay.
or take. We were before getting characters once every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That was for like a year straight, by the way. Mind you, at the time the roster was way smaller, so they
Hmm.
needed to inject characters into the game so that
Right.
we could
Yeah.
actually
It makes
have
sense
like
at that point.
diversity.
Hmm.
But like they were releasing characters at a breakneck pace.
Hmm.
Like they would reveal like 6 characters at once, and then within like 3 weeks we'd have 2 of them.
I think that's honestly too fast. Even I would say that's too
Oh, it
fast.
definitely was. That was something people complained about because they did that
Yeah.
for like a year straight until we got up to like 50 characters. And then once launch came out, when we went to 1.0, they slowed way
Hmm.
down, which I think right now it's a perfectly fine rate. I
Yeah.
mean, personally speaking, I'd like it to be a little quicker, but that kind of ties into the problem of they're not putting anything else in the game to do. So the thing I have most to look forward to is a new
Yeah.
character.
Nobody's playing right now. Everyone in the Eternal Connections Discord is off doing other things because I get it. Like Monster Hunters came out, so like a lot of people are playing that. But like most
Even
people are just
before.
playing other things right now because it's like the end of the patch. Y'all are just waiting for the next big gimmick to come out before you play for a couple weeks and get burnt down again. Like I understand the competitive side of things and the long-term side of things is already suffering. But my point I would venture to say is that you can't really do anything to keep your long-term players. You only have like 10, 20,000 concurrent on Steam alone. That's bad. Like that's not dead. The game isn't by no means dead. Like it is
Yes.
it is alive enough to be able to find games every day and it's playably alive. But obviously it is mostly your diehard players and it's mostly Korea. NA is on life support. We are barely hanging on right now. And I
I mean,
don't
if you think we're
really
on life support, I'd hate for you to see the other regions because EU is way worse, and
I've
South
heard
America
tales.
lost its server.
Yeah, they were gonna shut it down
Oh
completely, and
my.
then they had to fight. Actually, no, they did shut it down completely, and then they got it back up because they were so insistent on keeping their server alive because like they wanted to play the game. Like,
Yeah, and not just that, but the only choice they had at that point was to queue into us.
yeah, I actually have a prompt on that. So if we eventually if we move on to that one, I have one ready for that. If we want to keep going on that too. Um,
I
oh
did
God,
actually want to bring something up though,
go ahead.
really quick. Um, for the casual player experience, I do agree it's really, really awful, but it's still bad the higher you go. Like the more you play the game and the farther you go as a player, it doesn't really get better because it's mainly just the times and prime times of when all these games start.
Mhm.
So it's what really, really makes it very hard to get into the game nowadays. Because even though you can find norms games at every hour, hell, I find games at 5 in the morning. I think if you were to like the main issue is not everyone can play at hours. Let's say if they want to maybe dabble in ranked,
Right.
they wanted to play in hours of like low elo ranked, it would probably be any time from like what 7 p.m. all the way till 11 p.m. and the
Yeah.
game dies.
I noticed that when
And
I first joined the game because if you guys didn't know, my stream time used to be 10 a.m. PST. That was when I would stream. I stream 3 p.m. now, because I had to change because I couldn't queue ranked. It doesn't let you. Why is there a lock on that?
there is a
Now
lock so
that you
that way the
mentioned that.
players understand like what hours the games are in prime time, which is ridiculous by the way.
But
I don't understand that at
why?
all.
Just
That's
post
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Because you were wasting your time if you queued before that. You
Who
literally sit in queue for
cares?
over like because you would sit in queue for over an hour and nothing would happen.
Let them.
Yeah.
Like if
Like
We
if
don't.
somebody wants to play off of prime time, let them.
Here's
Why
the
bar them
problem
from
though.
doing that?
Why you're taking away from potential normal games that could pop by having people waste an hour in rank?
It
That's
wouldn't be a
not gonna pop.
problem if we could bring in more casual players that would eventually go to rank. That's the thing that I mentioned before I even got here was that you can't have veteran players unless you have casual players to become those veterans. No, you need them to stick around long enough playing normal games to eventually get invested. Like I'm still just playing, I'm a normal gamer, honestly. I'm just a norms gamer. And the only reason I've been touching ranked is because ranked feels less toxic and less smurf heavy than normals do because norms are just so
Uh,
bad. But that's just
so funny
me.
you mentioned that because ranked is extremely plagued with Smurfs for
Yeah.
two reasons. One, because once you get past diamond, you have to solo queue. So
Hmm.
if you want to queue with your friends that are lower ranked but
Oh
they still
God,
want to play
really? At
ranked,
Diamond?
you have you have to make
Are
a
you
Smurf.
kidding?
And on top of that, there's also the problem that especially oh my god, what was I just I'm
Diamond? Are
drawing
you?
a blank tonight.
I didn't even know that. Are
Yeah,
you kidding? At Diamond,
yeah,
you can't even duo queue.
here's a
nope.
quick piece of
What?
information.
What?
It's like trio and duo queuing straight up died by the time you get to diamond, and the main reasoning for
What?
that was because of an actual issue that occurred again with the player base, where it was very common to see people either getting boosted or straight up stacking with friends, and those friends just so happen to be like top tier immortal players, which
Hmm.
again it makes sense because the community is small, so everyone's friends with a lot of different
Right.
people. I'm friends with people that are way better than me at the video game, so if I
Yeah, me
wanted to
too.
play with them, like it would just end up being like that because I usually sit around mithril or diamond. I only peak titan one time, But if I were to play with them, again, they'd be way better than me because they're immortal peakers. They peaked that high.
Hmm.
Like, it's just really, really bad for the game if duo Q dies. Like, sorry, is allowed the higher you go. Like, I
Right.
think duoing would maybe be fine, but even then, it would just promote more toxicity in Diamond than already exists.
I want
Yeah, because
to
you used to be able to do that up to Mithril.
I
Yeah.
want to bring up Overwatch in this scenario, and I'm going to reference
Okay.
that game a lot because it is where it came from. I played Overwatch for 7 to 8 years. I was captain of a amateur console team. I was really high elo too, so I'm from the console high elo sphere. I was almost grandmaster. I would have hit it if I played long enough. I just didn't go through a headache. But anyway, basically, I'm a super good pro player almost from Overwatch. And what I observed from those years playing that game is that the only reason they can get away with locking at the highest level is because they have the player base to sustain that. They don't have a problem with their quick play matches or their ranked matches. Like we actually had a problem with queues taking too long at the highest level back in Overwatch 1 when it was 6v6. And the thing was that like nobody wanted to play the tank role. But what's relevant is that like it was not long. It was like 10 minutes. People were complaining about 10-minute queues. People complained about 5-minute queues. Like you have to understand, ER players, I'm sorry, but you don't know what queue times are like, apparently. I guess like it just the only thing that would really fix this game, I think genuinely, all these issues are only exist because there's so few players. This happens in every game I've played. Overwatch has this problem. But the reason why nobody talks about it is because the player base is so big that the chance of you finding a game with a Smurf at any level is pretty low, actually. Because there's just so many new players. The game has gone so casual heavy that they have a ton of new players. So the skill floor is dramatically increasing. So you just have more generalized, like your population in the silver, bronze, gold level area is increasing. So obviously, they're gonna slowly feed into the higher ranks. So you just have the populace at the bottom level to support the higher one. You have to have a generalized audience for your game. You do. Like
Oh, I think we all know that. We like trust me. No one knows more than the people who played this game as much as they do.
Yeah.
And to circle back, I kind of remember the other thing I was going to mention. The other problem is that a lot of times the reason why lower ELO ranked pops is because of the Smurfs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even noticed that. I observed that. I've only been playing for like 3 weeks. I noticed
Yeah,
that.
it's kind of like a catch-22. It's like we don't want Smurfs, but Smurfs are also the reason why games get going.
There was
So
this
it's like,
Monday actually last week, I think, was like one of the biggest day I've seen. And Shelly was there to see it too, I'm pretty sure, where like my rank games were just popping. I was only in queue for like 2 minutes at a time at peak. I was popping off rank games, but like I was
which
also
is
having to play my
unheard of.
ass off.
Yeah,
Like
because that's like ER sadly does have a very bad smurfing problem.
Mhm.
Like it's mainly just because like even I have made Smurfs in ER. I think I have an Ultigot and a Smurf, and
Oh my
I know
God.
I've dabbled in the dark arts, but
Wow.
the
And
most
I thought you
common
were better.
reasons the most common reasons for it, like of course everyone knows ego smurfing,
Yeah.
and another common reason is learning characters because of, and I'm about to go into actually some high elo stuff, and I'm
Mhm.
sorry,
Go ahead.
but there actually is a bit of an issue right now in high elo with toxicity, where if you learn a character in high elo, you start picking it, people are going to start yelling at you because the community is that small where everyone knows each other.
Yep.
So unless you name change, you are most likely going to be called out for trying to learn a new character,
Oh
maybe
my
trying to
God.
expand your champ pool.
So
So
like
unless you make a completely new account where you only play those characters, people are not going to take you seriously. The
So
higher you go.
theoretically, if I were to climb on the ranks with only Katya and they see me play anything other than Katya, people will freak out.
Yeah, I
yes.
mean, if you try to learn something like, I don't know, let's say you wanted to
Yeah,
pick
Gene.
up like
Yeah,
not
that's when I
Hyejin
was picking
necessarily,
up.
like Yan. Let's say you want to
Oh,
pick up Yan, right?
okay.
Like that is a completely different character class. They have no faith in you.
Mm-hmm.
Like zero, zilch, nada, nothing. So they'll play one game with your Yan, write you off, from now on dodge you.
Oh my God. Because the player
Yeah.
base is so small that like
Yeah,
in Overwatch it's different because hundreds of thousands of people play that. So it's like if someone's just
yeah,
playing a character they don't play, that's oh God, oh no, one game you miss. Next one, like chances of you finding another person who's doing the same. Not very high. I mean, it also that's
it's
just
not
something
even
I'm gonna be
like
real. That's just something that happens in games. It is not a
yeah,
population thing. It is not like ER thing. That is just a thing you have to deal with. Deal with it.
No, okay. Let me explain this one more time.
Sure.
The reason why this happens is because the population is so small, where everyone sees the same names.
Well, yeah.
So
Well,
it's
the only
not
reason they can
people
get away
learning
with
new
that is
stuff
because
in high elo, it's
Right.
people learning new stuff and them rolling the same people again.
let them play with their like if they're learning characters, let them play it.
Yeah, they don't want that, so they're gonna
Yeah,
dodge.
there's too much ego at that level. They don't
Oh my
need
There's too
to.
much
god.
ego. It like even though this could be straight up this could be like straight up like fixed by everyone just agreeing to stop egoing each other
Yeah.
and just let
It's
people
not gonna
learn new
happen.
stuff and let people practice new stuff.
That's not gonna happen.
Sadly, that doesn't exist with gamers.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not gonna
well,
Where the
happen.
higher where the
they
higher
cannot
you
let it go.
go, yeah.
No.
Because I remember trying to learn Nadine midway through this season.
Mhm.
I ended up getting dodged a lot because I tried to learn Nadine, and people know me as a Piolo player. So what happened? I just went back to playing what I usually do because I didn't want to get dodged and I actually wanted to get games.
I think that, and it's going to be like the big argument for this topic specifically is people who think that the competitive side should still be maintained and think that we should still like the weekly updates, everything that we have currently is needed, that we shouldn't change that. Whereas the other side that I'm kind of on is that we don't need these updates, and unfortunately your competitive side is going to suffer massively. But I'm going to be honest, if that's the only thing that's sustaining you, you are never going to get new players. I'm sorry, but it's true. If your competitive scene is your only focus, if your KR scene is the only focus, NA is going to die out really fast, and you're going to lose your everything, just everything on the overseas. The only thing you're going to have is KR, and for a longest time, from what I've heard, that's what they've had for years. Like, and they put servers on other countries, but then they do nothing with it. Like, what do you like? What do you mean? What do you mean? You're gonna let these people play, and then you're not gonna like elaborate on that? You're not gonna like focus on that at all? Like, it just, I don't know, man. I don't know.
So
The server situation is weird to me.
I actually did want to bring something up because here's the thing. The thing I mentioned, like, it only gets worse in other servers, actually. Fun fact. Like, in EU, it's really, really bad
Mm-hmm.
because
I've
there's a lot
heard.
of toxicity and ego in EU. But Dog Pet Kid
Yeah,
actually did
dog
bring up
pet. I was about to say, just mentioned a
brought
solution would
up
be to block
something
names.
really, really important. Because here's the thing, streamer mode does exist, but
Wait, really?
it only hides you from getting ran down
Oh,
by other people.
you can hide
Your
your name.
teammates could still your teammates
wait.
could still see you.
Why do we not have blocked names in ranked? League does that.
Yeah. It's so
Why?
that way you can't
What?
dodge during like
League has
champ
had
select,
this
right?
problem before. They added locked names in League. You guys, if you guys know about that at all,
Yeah.
that used to not be a thing. But because of people dodging, that is literally the same issue. Now that you mentioned that, same exact issue. League already fixed it by just blocking names. Why don't we do that? Like what? What? That's such a good idea. We
Yeah,
should do that.
I
That would
couldn't
fix a lot of the
tell
problems.
That
you.
would
If we
fix
just
it.
added a goddamn streamer
I
mode,
don't see a
then people
single
who
like
want to
downside to
dabble,
doing that. Like I literally see nothing we lose for that. Like what?
Yeah, it is at this point it is 100% opt-in and it doesn't even really work
Oh
that
my
well
god.
because here's the thing. It says like if you put on that thing to hide your name, it'll appear as test subject whatever in
Oh my
game.
god.
But
Wait,
on the
that's so
results screen, it'll
that
show your name
holy
afterwards,
shit,
so
that
they'll still know
explains
it's
it.
you.
Wait, so that's why people appear as test subjects sometimes.
yeah.
Yes, that's
What?
them hiding their name. But here's the thing: on the results page, it shows the player that it
Oh my
was. So it's
god.
still eventually you're gonna know who it is no matter what. You're just delaying it.
Oh
Yeah,
my
and also
god.
on champ select, they can still see your name, so that way, like
Yeah.
that doesn't fix the issue at all for dodges.
Wait, so
Like,
but like
I
but
think
then why like why
this
do
has
we
been
not
brought
have
up
this?
multiple times.
What? But
This
go
has
ahead,
been
yeah.
brought up multiple times with the devs and stuff like that. I believe so, and if it has not, then it needs to be brought up again, where a tried and true proper streamer mode needs to be added into the game,
Yeah.
so that way we can reduce some of the toxicity and dodges in high elo. And that would, I don't know how that would fix a lot of the stuff for the casual player base, but
Right.
it would fix a lot of the issues that happen the higher you go. Because again, the casual to try hard pipeline does exist,
Mhm.
especially in ER, where you basically just climb by playing.
So
Because if you're competent at a character, you just go higher.
I think
So
that
like,
resources we don't need to invest so much into the high elo. Really, we really don't. Like we don't need
we
this
really
much
don't.
I
focus on
disagree. I
patches.
disagree. I disagree.
Yeah, I'll let you elaborate on here. You can explain why in a second too. I would say that we don't need these regular patches. The character release, Ragnell brought up like how often they are, and I think honestly, yeah, it feels pretty good. I don't think we need to change that. Honestly, we just don't need so many balance patches. Your game is in a solid state. you can't really do anything to change characters like here and there. Micro patches are not going to increase more players. It's just going to make it more playable for your current player base, which is good. That's good. But the base level, like 5% to someone's damage is going to do nothing for like I don't even like this little 2% buff that I got to Abigail. Like, oh, ooh, and then they did it again to another stat. Ooh, to a singular ability. I'm a casual player. I don't care about that. Like, like it doesn't matter to me. Like all these little tweaks, like little crumb feeds to these characters. No one's gonna look at the patch notes if they're a new player and care about that. We don't even know what those characters are. Like I have no idea what that does or what these names' abilities are. To you, it means everything. To me, it means absolutely nothing. I don't care. The only one I care about is
So
a character I play.
so
Yeah.
to weigh in on this, so this is a very multifaceted problem. The first thing is I do kind of agree that we don't need the game to be balance patched as often as it is. They are very aggressive with hot fixes and very
Mm-hmm.
quick fixes. Like, I mean, if you weren't here for Garnet's release, I don't think,
No.
but that character got hotfix nerfed within 12 hours of being released, and then got nerfed again less than a day later,
That's
and then
insane.
nerfed the next week
Yeah.
before an actual proper patch. But
Oh my
that's
god.
getting away from like the scope of what I'm talking about. But what I was gonna get at was like I do agree it doesn't need to be as frequent as they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like on the one hand, it keeps the game fresh because that's what I have to look forward
Yeah.
to is, oh, okay, this is different, this is different, I can try this now, this works, this doesn't work, whatever
Yeah.
have you. That's fine. But like over the years, in whatever misguided ways they've tried, they have made attempts at trying to branch out and push the game out there for people
Mm-hmm.
to kind of be like, hey, this exists, come play it, please. And obviously, we didn't have as good of a guide as we do now to kind of have people land on and actually
Right.
figure out what's going on. But again, getting away from the scope of what I wanted to talk about. So the main problem I feel like is because they've put such a heavy emphasis on the competitive side of the game for as long as they have at this point, they can't completely alienate it. They just can't because
No.
that's the player base they've cultivated.
Of
So if they
course
try
not.
to go hard on catering to casuals, which again, I think they should do to some extent, but they need to
Yes.
find a way to have their cake and eat it too,
Right.
they're gonna make the hardcore players leave, and at this point trying to garner a new player base, or a new casual player base I should say, is a gamble. So it's like gamble on a possibility that
Yeah.
historically has not played out very well for them, or continue to cater to the people that you already know are going to keep coming back.
I mean,
Now
it's
mind you, I will say this is probably one of the most dire lulls I've seen for the game, because the content creation space especially is
mm-hmm.
I mean, it was already pretty bad after the whole Korea no longer being able to be on Twitch thing, because that inflated
What?
a lot of the numbers.
Wait,
Yeah, oh,
what? Hold on.
that's not
Wait a
related to
minute.
Eternal Return. That's just a
What?
Twitch thing.
That's it.
Oh,
That's just a
okay.
Twitch
Oh,
thing.
I didn't know that. Hold on. What?
Yeah, Korea cannot stream on Twitch anymore.
Huh.
So that kind of hurt a lot because we had a lot of Korean streamers for this
Oh
game, as
my
I'm sure you
god,
can
no
imagine.
wonder.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Just-
needless to say, we lost that, and even after that initially happened, I would say the stream category for this game was still relatively healthy,
Yeah.
because we still had a lot of people that were, the usual suspects that were around streaming the game, but a lot of them have either slowed down streaming or completely stopped.
Right.
I used to always be able to look at Eternal Return and see at least like 100 people watching. Now sometimes it gets as low as like 20, which
Mhm.
is very bad. But that's its own can of worms that I'm not going to touch because I am not qualified to speak on it.
Right.
But I'm sure if you get some content creators on here that are more experienced, especially with the creator program that this game has,
That
they can weigh in
will.
on that.
I actually
And
have. Yeah, I probably will make another day completely focused on content creators. I actually had an intention to do that. Yeah, I was gonna bring like people like Grubs or Athena or some of the other creators that I contacted from way back when that have been long since gone. Like maybe I can get Levi on here. That would be super cool. And he
yeah,
can feed
like
us like super
they
old
all
info. Yeah.
they all could definitely weigh in on that.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
I could definitely float some ideas for things that the game could try to like incentivize people to play the game
Like
more for
24/7
fun
drops, please.
instead of
Nimble Neuron, please do
drops
24/7
is
drops. Like what the hell?
drops would be nice too, for sure, for sure.
Please.
But
I
like
would
even
actually like to
like
comment on something for drops, actually.
go ahead.
Drops actually, like, fun fact, drops actually don't do much for small streamers nowadays in
They
the art
don't.
category. And let me explain. Like, as in my time streaming herbs, I've done this for about going on a year now. 8 months, and I am by no means I am by no means used to
Yeah.
streaming. These are my first 8 months ever.
You've only been
Drops,
streaming for
I
8
think,
months?
have made it harder for me to stream,
What?
like more times than not, because all the new players that see the Twitch drops in the game, they mainly want the drops and nothing else.
Right.
They don't really care about the creators. So what usually ends up happening is certain channels that will
I know
not
where
end
this
up
is
getting
going.
banned will stream 24/7, the same footage looped,
Mm,
and just drop farm.
I already spotted that.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it
I've
will
seen a
get
couple of those
upwards
too.
of 30 of I want to say 40 to 100 viewers,
Right.
and there is quite literally nothing. Unless those get cracked down on, there's nothing.
Yeah.
And again, people just want their drops, so they just go there.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it does kind of suck. Like
It'll
as a
be
creator,
it'll be interesting to
but
hear about that during the then whatever panel I do with the creators. I might even
Yeah.
like bring you and
Yeah.
Shelly on for that.
yeah,
I
because
will say,
that is an actual issue that actually exists. Because for some reason, there's no verification. Then again, if it's exclusive for ER creators, it hurts smaller streamers who have not gotten the
Hmm.
creator.
I
And it's really hard to get creator nowadays because to get creator, you need like minimum 30 to 100 viewers.
yeah, brief insight I'll
I
give
like.
you before we move on to the next
Oh, I wanted to comment on this
yeah, I
too.
was gonna say I'll let you in a sec. Well, brief insight is just whatever next panel I do. At some point, I'm just gonna be. This is gonna be down like we're probably gonna do several panels before I even reach this one because I have a lot of people I need to contact and get info on. But if I can, I want to bring you and Shelly and a bunch of other people into like a 6-person thing, and then I'll be here to. It's gonna be hard to like figure that out, but I have some ideas on like bringing just a bunch of creators in that we see in the category a lot and get them all connected. We all need to like talk. We need to talk. We all do. Long
Yeah.
term, short term, everyone who we usually see. Like I haven't talked to Stella. Stella's another name in there that I've seen a lot. There's some others. I can't think all at the top of my head, but there's a bunch of people like you and Shelly are just the two that I see almost every day. So I'm like, but anyway, yeah. Go ahead, Ragnell.
So I was actually gonna say, it also like the whole drops thing kind of creates like a negative feedback loop because we have one particular person who does still keep up with the content grind pretty much daily. Nero TV.
Okay.
He streams the game basically every single day for several hours, which props to him because I cannot believe and he's he plays in Korea, even though
Hmm.
he's not in Korea. That's just the region that he plays in because it's closest to him and whatnot. So whenever we have these drop campaigns, I know for a fact that myself and several other people will just I'm not looking at stream at stream right now. It's like, oh, Nero's
Mm,
streaming. Okay, I'll just leave his stream on for a couple hours because I know
Yeah.
right.
it's reliable. He'll stream for several hours. He's playing Eternal. Even if he plays something else, he'll keep his topic on Eternal,
Mhm.
which
I
still
mean,
counts for drops, which is very funny. But
the main goal of drops is to just to increase retention. That's all it is. It gives the streamers view time, and that's the only thing it really does. It just brings people over to the Twitch side, which can create some people who go, "Oh, well, I just put this guy on to watch him, but hey, he's actually really cool. Let me continue to watch them." It's going to be a very small percentage, but that's not the whole point. It's going to happen, but the main idea behind 24/7 drops is just to keep a constant flow of people watching your streams. Like, yeah, you're right. They're just going to put it on for however long and leave. But why is that a bad thing? Why is it a bad
oh,
thing?
I didn't say there was
Even
anything
for
wrong
those
with that.
little
I just
hours, yeah,
I
even for
was
those
just
little hours, it's
putting.
like, yeah, you're going to have those people that drop farm, but it's just going to happen. And it's not a lot of people. I see, like, compared to like how many people I see just farming the same reruns, you can see on the tag too. They put rerun on there if they're nice. Um, they don't always do
This
that.
is not the point I was going
I'm
for.
not
Actually, I was
gonna
just
play.
piggybacking off the fact that the smaller
But
content
yeah,
creators get the raw end of the deal because most times they're just going to click on the guy with the most views. It's
yeah,
not
and
like,
it's
oh,
not going to help, right? But for those who have been grinding their butts off to try and be figures in the community, it benefits them. It helps. It just creates a little bit more interaction, and that's all it does. And I really don't see a
Honestly,
downside to doing that.
I care less about that and more of like the view bot stream, like the bot
Right.
streams. I care more about that. That has
Okay.
always been the biggest issue I've ever seen with the community. where when guess what, drops are here. Wow, can't wait to see who's getting more viewership. Oh, it's some random channel that literally has 24/7 drops in their title and has drops as their name on Twitch.
Oh my god, yeah, I
Yeah,
was so
I'm actually
sad when I
surprised
Not
I've
a
never
creator.
seen that, but I don't really like watch
I
Twitch that
rated 8
often, so I
people
can't.
out
Then
to one of
that's
those
good.
channels. I don't remember who it was, but like someone's just doing like 24/7 reruns, and I didn't know that that's what was happening. I rated like 8 or 9 people out to him, and I'm like, oh, that's what
Yeah,
this
no, you
is.
never do that. Never support them. Just like
Yeah,
I,
I'm
I, I
not gonna
heavily
go back.
dislike seeing those because again, I'm new to this stuff,
Hmm.
and to me, despite that being actually really good, because guess what? These channels have subs and ads on.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They
they
have
blow
subs
up
and
from
ads
it.
on.
They get like 20, 30 people sometimes, and it's like, wow,
Yeah.
that's great. I'm over here like trying to get close to the community and really know people and like be like a personality, like get to know everyone and just play the game and have fun and you know. And then I see people like that are just farming content that they played like a month ago. Great,
No, not
that's
even. They use
fantastic.
tutorial footage
Yeah, that's awesome. That's fantastic. They
from
can
four
just
years
farm the
ago.
content, and I'm over here like trying to really make something genuine. Like this whole cast, like this quick cast. I'm sure plenty of people are just watching other streamers right now where they could be watching this.
Yeah.
But that's a
Like
different day. Honestly, I
I
should
I don't
bring.
again
I definitely
the
gotta log this
content
one
farms
and
I hate.
probably save it for like another quick cast for sure. For sure.
The content farms are probably the most disgusting thing in this, like right now on the Twitch community, because
Oh, we
they
need to
only come
talk
around
about
when
it.
drops are happening.
Mhm.
That's why I always say if you're if you're new to streaming herbs, just straight up like stream like of course stream more when drops are happening,
Hmm.
but be careful about streaming during
Yeah.
drops because
Log
like
that
those
in.
channels
We
they will
definitely
leech.
log that into like the back of your brain, and then I definitely got to bring you on to talk about that because you seem like you've got a lot to say about the creator side. I'm interested to hear. I definitely got to like bring you on and probably Shelly as well to kind of bounce off of that. We got to save this for the cast, boys.
I was
That's
gonna say,
this is
bringing us
interesting.
back on topic
Yeah, let's
to
write
the
this
new.
down. Oh shit,
So,
I'll make a
so,
note.
to, so to, yeah, going back to the new player thing. So, as I was getting at originally, with the whole alienating top players and all that
Hmm.
other stuff, like there's several ideas I could think of to just make the game even just like a teeny bit more interesting. I do think on the one hand, like the more casual side could be indulged by the player base itself. I think it's
Right.
partially their fault that the game is as competitive minded as it
Ding
is because
ding
that's all
ding.
people talk about it.
Continue.
And there's so many ways we can do that. Like I told this story recently, but I'll tell it again. Like obviously we have something like Cobalt. Like the fact that
Right.
we can't even get Cobalt to pop without a concerted effort of pinging people to get a custom lobby going is tragic. You only need 8 people for that. Do you know how sad it is we can't get 8 people for a
Yeah.
mode? But I digress. But like going back to the story, so way back in early access, one of the fun things that we did just to goof off because we had nothing better to do and there was no such thing as ranked in the game yet is we all booted up into a custom lobby. You picked your character. We all spawned in the same zone. And then when the game starts, you're paired with like one other person. And the goal was go around the zone, craft whatever you can craft with what you find. Whatever you can find, you can equip it. That's it. You cannot leave the zone. And then it's just a sudden death showdown in that zone.
That's
But
awesome.
the catch was that if it changed from day to night or night to day, everyone would have to pause fighting and rotate to a new zone. So it was like a rolling death cage, basically. And it
Oh,
was really dumb, but it was really funny. And it presented some really hype moments because it's like you have to get really crafty to kill people at level 4.
yeah.
But I digress. The point is like silly little things like that. The community could
Hmm.
engage in stuff like that a little more, but everyone only cares about learning the game or improving at the game,
Yeah.
which again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But I think we need to learn to have a little more fun with the game instead of taking it so seriously
And
all
you
the
are
time.
actually introducing another idea I was gonna bring probably later into this cast. Actually, was another prompt. Once we're done with this one, that was actually another prompt that you're kind of getting into. So I'll introduce it in a bit, but yeah, I'm gonna be. I have a lot to talk about on that actually, like what I've observed on the content sphere. Just being here for as long as I have, like, oh my god, I did that whole. I don't know if you guys saw, but I did that stream where I spent 8 hours, I think it was literally reviewing old content. I had Bunny actually and Levi, maybe names you guys know, from like years ago. Those guys have been around for forever. And they popped in and they were telling me like names of creators from way back when, people you would have to really dig to try and find, and probably some of them you can't find at all. Like it's I had to go so deep in this titanic continent of an iceberg to find some of this content. You have no idea. And a lot of it, actually, if you guys didn't know, has been scrapped. Most record of this game is held on YouTube, and anything other than that has been scrapped for like until a year ago. So anything before that is gone. Like you can barely
Yeah.
find any solo content anymore. Like it's just deleted. You can't find it. What about
Yeah,
like all
I
the
mean, it
patches, and
doesn't
what about all
help
like
that.
there's no record, there's no anything from like a while ago, and it's like, well, I
Yeah,
guess the iceberg just
preservation is
stops there.
not something that the community has prioritized, especially
Yeah,
considering I'm sure there's many people who stream this game who are inexperienced with Twitch and don't know about saving their VODs and stuff like that. Because that's not something that you can just have Twitch do. You have to
yeah,
like opt into that. You have to set that up.
yeah. I don't do that actually deliberately.
Yeah. So like it's a very fleeting thing, and with how frequently the game changes, it's hard to even find like specific footage for any point in time. Like
Yeah,
I
Yep.
have a variety of clips from over the years from different points in the game's history, but even I couldn't tell you when exactly some of them were.
yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I think because I also came around after solos. So when I heard a lot about solos when it first launched, I ended up asking about it in a lot of different Discord servers, and I ended up being sucked into a VC that had Athena Kai, and
Oh.
Silverpaw in it, and a few others that I can't name off the top of my head because it was a while ago.
Hmm.
But they kept showing me like solos clips, and I will say the game did look very interesting as a solos
I
experience.
bet.
It
But sadly, it was
Speaking as
removed.
someone who was there, it was a very different game.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Personally, this is just my like it's just bias. I found it like a snore fest. I found that not interesting at all. But that's
I
just
Yeah.
mean,
me.
I think
Like,
thematically it kind of fit with the game because I don't know if you know this or not. I don't know if it's still the case, but once upon a time back in early access, Eternal Return actually used to be tagged as a horror game.
What?
And yeah,
Uh,
it's kind
Uh,
of funny actually. Like that was one of the tags under the game. It just had horror under it
I
because,
mean,
they didn't the game was trying to play up the more edgy side of the lore and stuff like that because it was coming
hmm
off of the previous game Black Survival, which was decidedly much more gritty and much more in your face about the more dark elements of the lore, which this game is kind of weird. It feels like they're trying to still do that, but at the same time they're not.
hmm
Like the game is decidedly much more colorful than that game was. It also has a
yeah,
much more anime art style, but
yeah.
aside from that, it's also just yeah, when you play solos, you kind of got that sometimes because, you're fighting for your life on your own or whatever have you. So when you see people, sometimes it is like, "Oh shit, I got to get out of here."
Okay,
yeah.
but like the reason why I brought that up is because I actually want to say the majority of the solos clips that I saw were actually from Twitch and metal clips, and that's literally it. I don't think I've seen solo content on YouTube in a long time. And I don't search for it, but at the same time, the fact that the majority, if not all of the content that I've seen of solos has come from metal clips from very specific people or from like straight up Twitch clips that are ancient and that come from some channels that don't
hmm
even stream herbs anymore is also very like it's just surprising.
Yeah, most of them are gone.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of those
I,
solo
I
creators
can
are not here anymore.
off the top of my head, I can think of 3 YouTubes you can check right now that have a mountain of solos content. But the problem is like you said, they're all people who don't play the game
Yeah.
anymore.
So it's like you'd
Like
have to actually like you'd have to find a guy who knows a guy who finds these people. Like that's how
Yeah.
I found most of the creators. So like I found a guy who knows a guy. That literally is it. I mean,
yeah, like
it sucks.
that's yeah, and
Welcome to
I'm
the
really
VR
sad
community.
too.
It's not fun.
And the
Yeah,
only reason
I'm
I could do that was because I have leverage as a content creator to talk to these people. Like no
I
normal
mean, I
like a
don't even
bunch of
necessarily think it's that. You don't really need leverage. Pretty much everyone in this sphere is more than happy to just talk with people about the game
yeah,
because they
but
all
like
love the
if a
game.
thousand people come over to talk about the game to these people, like it's different
Uh,
than one random creator coming in and with like a passion going, what the hell happened for the past 4 years? What did I miss?
yeah,
It's completely different, and especially since I'm like, I'm not just a random player that's taking extreme interest. I'm a guy who knows a bunch of people. I'm a creator that wants to bring like help this game. I want to help this game. This game deserves a lot of love. There's so much to it. it took my two least favorite genres in gaming and somehow made it now my new passion. How? I hate battle royales. I hate MOBAs notoriously. Anyone who knows me knows that every battle royale, every MOBA I played, I hated. They're miserable. It's just me. Like I just do not like either genre. But for some reason, this game, just the combination of both of my least favorite genres, somehow has become one of my favorites. And I think it's mainly the community. Like I said, if you guys didn't like pop in immediately and start hanging out, obviously, I probably would have left by now because I don't want to play a game of community is not good. That's why I don't play League. It's part of the reason why. It's just so toxic that I just didn't want to be there.
which
Like,
is very fair.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like this community is so passionate and loving, and I'm like, well, I'm just obviously going to have a better chance of attracting passionate and loving people who just want like people to play with or a guy to talk to, or who are more willing
Yeah.
to be friends with me rather than a face for entertainment. Like I'm just looking for closer connections to people, and that's what I got here. So,
This is
Yeah.
something I was going to mention earlier, actually, when we came to this similar topic. Was yeah, a lot of people with this game, like if you express like any interest, a lot of people will just jump at you and be like,
mm-hmm.
"Hey, come on over here,
Oh
let
my
me tell you
God, you
about
guys
this little game
are like, I even
that's
told my
on
sister
return free
about
on
this.
Steam."
You guys are actually so starved for attention. It's sad. I will say that right now. Like, oh my God, dude. I could have been anyone. I could have literally been anyone, and you guys did not have to talk to me, but you did
Yeah.
because, like, who else is there?
I will. Oh, okay. Wait a second. That actually reminds me of something. The fact that you and I technically met because you walked into my chat one time,
Uh-huh.
said that, "Hey, I know how to fix your TTS," and I said, "Join my server right now. I'm gonna have you fix it at some point." And we never got around to fixing it, and now
Yeah,
I'm here. Yeah,
yeah.
that's long right.
That's so funny. I completely forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to
Glad,
the
glad you
community.
mentioned that. Hey, we should fix that.
Yeah, I probably need to fix my TTS sometime soon. I don't know how to, but like,
Yeah, you should remind me
realsies, that's just how it
sometimes.
is to be in the
Yeah,
ER community. You meet someone, they know someone else, then you meet that person, then you meet a streamer, and then that streamer
yeah.
knows every other streamer.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
just I bumped into Grubs because I met Athena. Athena was like the big name that I met first. So, and she actually funny thing, sidebar. She was like, "Oh, you stream the game? Like what, do you have a YouTube?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'll plug it." And like, you don't have to. And she just reviewed my content on stream. Like I don't think it's around anymore, but like she looked at all my stuff on stream and I'm like, "Oh my God. Like 100 people are looking at this right now. Oh, Jesus."
Well,
yeah. Yeah, that'll happen. I will say it's actually kind of funny to me. Like I've known of Athena for a long time now, but I've never actually like watched her content whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then like despite never watching her content, now I just like it's every other day I'll just join a call and she'll just be there. It's like, "Oh, hey, what's up?"
We
So I don't
talk
even like process in my mind, "Oh, that's a streamer," even
We
though I
all
know like,
talk as
"Hey,
if we all just been here. Where I'm like nervous to talk to everyone, especially the big names, which is why I brought on smaller streamers that I've interacted with already a little bit.
you're
Like
welcome.
I've interacted with Shelly and Ivan just a tad, just through like occasional conversations in chat, and we've rated each other back and forth. That's kind of how we met. But like that was it.
yeah." I
I'm
mean,
nervous to bring on the bigger creators. This is kind of just warming me up to that. But like I
yeah.
didn't want to bring in big names yet because I was unsure. Like it just they seem like an entirely different world to me. Like I don't know who knows who. Like who
I'm
If
actually
you want
curious.
my
If you were to
personal
bring on a big creator, who would you bring on first, other
would
than
I bring
Athena?
on first? Other than Athena.
Yeah.
Ooh. Grubs is a good one. Um she's been around in the community for a while. At least I've seen her in like other content creators stuff. So clearly people know her.
Yeah,
Um
she's an early she's a 1.0 baby. She's not
If
a
I
veteran.
can talk to Levi again and get him on here, that's another one, but he doesn't make content anymore. So that's why I'm kind of interested. He's an old creator that has not been around since Squad's released. So that's why I'm like, that's a good one. Very
I
different
literally
opinion.
gave you one on a silver
Yeah,
platter.
literally, like, yeah, you did. There's a bunch of names that I would bring in. Ragnell definitely could help me out with that too.
Yeah. Get Vix on here.
Vix as well. Don't worry, I talked to Vix. Actually, if Ivan wasn't gonna be here, I messaged Vix and say, hey, I have one that might not be here. Do you want to like fill in?
I actually wanted to bring something up. Something did come up. I am gonna have to go very soon. But again, I
No.
would again, it's gonna be in 20 minutes. We have one more topic minimum.
Yeah, we.
But like I am sorry, today's not been like a good day.
Nah, it's
Actually,
alright, man.
some things came up last minute, and my health did take a hit at the very start of this.
I'm just glad that
So
you could be here at all, and you gave us some very
I
valuable tips.
I do want to apologize for showing up late
Nah,
though.
it's alright, man.
Oh, you're
Not
good. You're
It's a
chilling.
very
problem.
casual first. This is kind of just how like the vibes that I wanted to go with, you know. This is just kind of how I wanted to tackle the podcast. Some of them will be much more casual than others. It's entirely feeling. That's all it is. Some
Yeah.
casts will be way more like involved and passionate than others. This is just a very like casual, just introduction, just a way for me to get to know you guys too, you know. But feel free. Yeah, I mean, I'm just glad to see you. Like you were able to give a lot of opinions that we probably wouldn't have gotten without you here. So, you know, glad to see it.
I mean, like the reason why I'm even able to give these opinions are sadly because I've dumped in multiple thousand hours into this game
Yeah,
and have grinded the game, and that's really it.
that's why you're
Some of
here.
which on stream, some of which off stream.
That's why you're here. Yeah, you're the stand-in because like all of us are at different points in the player base. That's why I brought us all on was because we all have like completely different perspectives from each other.
Yeah, I'm the
Yeah.
old man that's shouting at clouds on his front lawn at this point.
But yeah, no man, it's all right. You don't have to apologize. Like I'll probably see you on another cast. I mean, I just already like this is going great, and I'm very interested in doing more, and this might just be a weekly thing. So, you know, I'll definitely see you on another one eventually.
All right. But I would like to bring up one more prompt before
Sure.
I'm gonna get going because I do want to be a part of one more conversation before I get replaced.
Okay.
That's your cue for the prompt.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm
Go ahead.
waiting. I don't have the prompt.
Oh,
gonna
oh, you
say,
wanted me to
hope.
give. I thought you had
I
one
Yes.
for me.
You
I
literally
thought
had
you
the
were
prompt.
giving me one. I'm like, oh, is it okay? It's his podcast now. Here, let me give him host.
I have none. I didn't come prepped. I'm tired as fuck.
All right. Okay. All right. I got it. I thought like they all thought the same thing. Like you were gonna give a prompt. I'm like, okay. All right. He's got one. Sure.
I
Whatever.
understood what he was building
Tell
up
us
to.
what
I
you
was like,
got.
Yeah. All right. Here, I'll grab another one. So bridging off of the new player experience thing, clearly the apparent issue that we've addressed is that the long-term player base has already got like they're being spoon-fed right now. We all know that. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think that because we're doing that, I think the new player experience suffer just a little bit. And we did actually bring up some very clear points where it's like the community also is kind of at fault for some of these things. There are things that we could be doing to try and help the player base. So expanding on that, the next prompt will be, is there anything we can do as a community to help bring new players into herbs? Because I think there are things we can definitely do. You already mentioned some of them, actually. Like you guys already had some ideas for what we could do. Yeah, stare at that prompt a little bit, and then if you have something to throw in there, I even need to think about it for a sec. Feel free to like take a moment and just think.
I'm gonna be honest. Like I think the only times we've ever seen very big boosts in like streamers, like it's not on streamers in like viewers, of course, on Twitch, as well as like numbers in games, have always been whenever a streamer decided to play the game maybe for like a month
Mhm.
and then just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then that's it. That's probably again, that's always like what we've seen happen before with I believe I Keep It Taco and another creator who I can't remember off the top of my head. But I very much remember it vividly.
Yeah,
Was-
and I
that's
wasn't
mean,
it
usually
double
we might
lift? I think
even.
they invited him to like a tournament or something. Like,
What's
I can't
funny is
There's
remember.
been so many featured players that they've tried to get on this game to be like, hey, they're playing this game. You should come play this game. Like we've had Dyrus on this game. Actually, I think Dyrus still plays to this day, like off and on. But you know,
XQC
that's
played once.
yeah. Yeah, he sure did.
Oh,
What?
it's so funny.
Yeah,
You guys
that was
should
one of the first
totally.
people they ever tried to sponsor to play the game. They're like, hey guys, you all like XQC? Come watch him play our game that makes no fucking sense to him.
Uh,
Yeah, if you
They've
want,
had
link it
so
to
many people
the.
from
You can
League.
totally
Like,
like
no,
if you want, find the video and link it in the group chat so the other two can see it.
don't worry,
Yeah.
the VOD is 100%
It's
there. I'll grab
so
it real quick.
funny.
I But
Oh
I
my
did
god.
bring that up because I think our biggest, like the biggest times we ever got like really big boosts in player numbers were probably during Dyrus, when Dyrus was streaming. Same thing with
Really?
Akiwatako, both of which were actually non-sponsored.
Wow.
Yeah, he played that game because he
So,
liked it. And he was actually like
and I
in the scene.
mean,
I remember back in early access, I ran into Dyrus all the time.
like,
I
and
know.
it's all completely theoretical. What if, like, 5 panels down the line, we start seeing a major jump in casual interaction with the panels, and we start seeing more people because of it? Like, the response gets super crazy. What if the response to this panel turns out to be something bigger than we ever hoped it would be? Like, what happens then? What do we do? Like, yeah, I'm just gonna obviously keep doing the panels, duh, like, of course. But like, then it's obvious that it's not just because it's a panel. It's just like, why are they interested then? If new players are so interested in this, if the response on this is crazy, then clearly there's something about it that the new players are interacting with that is making them more interested in the game. So, and I mean, I'll probably make like an iceberg video. I'll probably do like lore video for whatever I can dig up. I'm gonna go back and play Immortal Soul if I can get the APK to friggin' work. I'll probably play it on stream actually. So, like, obviously there are things I'm doing, and I think that this wave I'm trying to create will obviously bring some kind of response. I mean, I hope so. I, I hope so. I can't be 100%, but like, I'm trying to do something crazy here, because like I said, I think this game deserves way more attention than it's getting, and it's sad that NA is trying so hard. You're so full of passion for this game. You all love it so much, and you've been here through everything, through thick and thin, trying to see this game grow into something better. You want to see the best for this game, right? We all love it. Why would we not try to do more? Like, why?
Yeah. So to give
That
you an
I have
idea
no idea.
of to give you an idea of where I'm at and where I'm sure a lot of other long time players are, is
Mhm.
like there are definitely things that we could like attempt to do to try to not even necessarily like I mean, forget new players for a moment, even though I know that's like the
Yeah.
focus of this conversation, like to bring back like returning players, because there's so many people that
Yeah.
I've seen come and go over the years.
Go ahead.
But
Floor is
like
yours.
I don't want to throw my hands up in the air and say it's up to the devs at this point, but they don't give us much to work with either.
Right.
Like, there's only so much I can do when there's no ability to host a custom lobby and then search for people's lobbies. Like,
Mhm.
it's just you have to know people who are hosting lobbies, and you have to either get invited or get the code.
Yep.
Yep.
That's it.
Mhm.
If they gave us a lobby browser, and then I've talked about this before too, if they gave us the ability to customize the game
That's
in a
another
custom
prompt.
lobby, like
Ragnall's just
that's
guessing all the prompts. He already just like knows. Like, dude, you're like nailing every single thing I have on my page. God damn it.
this is what the game needs. Like I talked about the rolling death cage thing.
Yeah.
Like you could do that, but then you could also have fun with it. Like give
Yeah.
us the ability to turn off cooldowns. You already have the whole thing in training mode. Just let us access that for like messing around
Yeah.
purposes. Let us have like 300% HP, but we're only allowed to kill each other with like a green weapon or something like
Yeah.
that. Like silly, stupid things. Like that it doesn't take very much. Players can get creative on their own, but they need to give
Right.
us the tools to get creative with, and
And
they've given us
silly,
nothing.
stupid things like Cobalt is silly and stupid, but like, obviously, it's suffering massively. It's impossible to get a game unless you have coordination. So like,
Yeah.
I
Like
mean,
every facet of this game comes down to, do you know someone?
yeah,
And that's not even just the case of like, oh, I know you so I can get into this Discord, or oh, I
yeah,
know you so I can get into this custom lobby or these scrims or this tournament or whatever have you. It's, hey, I know this guy. He can teach me how to play the
right.
game.
And this actually brings up a very good point on something that Levi actually opened up to me too, is that a lot of the reason why most of the creators who have left and have stopped making content like that and start interacting with the community is that they have no drive to do so, because Nimble Neuron does nothing to support them or give any reason to continue doing so. Literally, the
Oh
only
yeah.
reason to keep making content is just because of the community and because of the game. That's it. That's your only
Oh yeah.
motivation. And even then, it only gets you so far. You know what? I'm going to be 100 completely transparent with you. I did not care what game I picked up. I just wanted to find one like this one to build a small little player base and then leave. I had no intention to go this hard on trying to make a community, like, I like create a new wave. I did not care about that. I just wanted to make a small little player base that followed me on Twitch and just liked watching my content, and just have like 20, 30, 40 people average, and then go find something else and just take them with me. Like, I just wanted to establish myself as a streamer. I did not care where I did it, but like, this just developed into so much more because of how crazy passionate the community is. And I started learning more about the lore, and I'm like, oh my god, there's so much here. It just keeps going. Like, it's kept me up at night, guys. I can't
You know,
sleep.
the ER community is a rabbit hole and a half when you
Hmm.
start going down into it. Because
But
first
now
you
I'm
want to join the
invested.
game because like maybe you saw an advertise. Because fun fact, I got into the game via it being advertised
What?
on op.gg,
What was the
where it had an
advertisement?
op.gg section, and then I opened it up and I was like, a BR MOBA, two
What?
genres I actually like, and then I went into it. And that's why there's an
I
op.gg Felix skin.
I joined it because I looked at the Steam charts and I looked at Twitch and I saw 200 to 500 usually is where it sits at peak hours. There's not a whole lot of streamers. I'm in a very niche category where there's only a handful of English. Then I looked at stream charts and I'm like, okay, this gets like 1020 concurrent. So it's like it's not dead, but it is playably alive. It is barely hanging on. And I'm like, okay, that's actually perfect because niche is always good for new creators. A little pro tip. It's always good to find games like this that have a passionate community that interact with streamers. The ratio of interaction with streamers and content creators for this game is dramatically higher despite there being such a small player base. Like the ratio is crazy on how much interaction there is compared to how many players actually play. Like a lot of people
Yeah.
who play this game watch someone on some platform. Like there's a lot of engagement. So, it's not a lot as if you were to play any other game where you can get 50,000 like to 100,000 people depending on where you are because of like other games getting millions. This game only gets like 20,000. So obviously that's pretty much your soft lock. Like and that's just kind of it. That right there actually is like the perfect description of why a lot of people left this game. There is a soft lock on how much interaction you can get. And if people are trying to become professional streamers, the engagement from Nimble Neuron is not enough to keep you. Like it's just not
Yep.
going to pay the bills. I'm sorry, it's just true. You're not going to grow much further past like the generalized audience you get with Eternal Return. And we probably will see it happen to me.
But
I
how does
mean,
this affect the new players?
it's a
Um,
valid point because I
it
was gonna bring up how the main reason why I got to learn the game personally was through watching streamers. Because
it
I actually did want to bring up the interaction between new players and streamers, considering sadly a lot of the time the only streamers who do get clicks are people who put ranks in titles
yeah.
and ranked climbs in titles.
The reason why this is relevant is because it gives us an idea of how the new players interact with the content creators and where they go. Like this kind of gives us a direction of where new players often go to find the like how do they find it? Like how do we end up here? Many you guys aren't new players anymore, but you were at one point, and you all kind of seem to have followed a very similar path. You know, you all found a
Dropped
streamer or
the game
some
off
kind of content
op.gg
creator
I
section.
haven't talked about
on
mine at
something.
all.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, so how did you start, Ragnell, if you remember?
I do remember, and trust me, it's gonna be way different from the rest of you.
Okay.
So I had a friend who just joined the call one day and was like, "Yo, check this game out I found," and then he just started streaming it on Discord. And I'm someone who was, of course, a League player once upon a time, and was watching, and I was like, "Huh." And like the game looked just jank enough that I was like, okay, this looks kind of like neat, and I was interested in the art style, and it looked interesting. So I was like, yeah, hell, I'll download it. Why not? I'll try it. So I did, and I got into it. Now, mind you, when I got into the game, this was early access, like early
Mm.
access. The newest character in the game was Kiara, and this was back when there was barely 20 characters in the game. Actually, I don't think there were 20. I think it was only 18 or 19.
Yeah.
But point is I learned the game in the solo trenches where, if you just got killed night one or whatever, you were just back to lobby, queue up again. And
Yeah, you told me about
it
that.
was a very interesting environment to learn in, to say the least. Now, mind you, as this is going to keep coming up as long as you have me around for these talks,
Mhm.
but I'm going to relate my fighting game background to this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm someone who, if I'm interested in a game and I get invested, I am someone who will go out of my way to just look stuff up and start learning. So once I realized I was really interested in learning the game, I immediately started looking up guides, the few that there were. And
Mm-hmm.
let me tell you think there weren't many guides now? Back then, there was maybe two people tops that were even making videos about the game at all, let alone guides.
Yeah.
But I still was able to kind of piece together something.
Mm-hmm.
And I, of course, started looking to streamers after a certain point because I found out people actually stream this game,
Yeah.
shock and awe.
Shocker, yeah.
I actually got involved with the first community for the game that I was hanging out with for an extended period of time because there was a particular streamer that went by Skaz. he was not only a streamer, he also uploaded YouTube content. He was on the grind very hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
He also was pushing very heavily for the competitive side of the game because
Oh,
there was no ranked originally, but he would host tournaments in spite of that. And on top of that, he also had some connections because he knew all the top players at the time, and he also knew some people from like outside of the scene and other content creators and stuff
yeah.
like that. Like he got names to show up for these tournaments. Like he had a whole like like almost like influencer tournament arc where
Yeah.
he got a bunch of other games to come play a tournament for this game, and they had like a week to learn it, and they got coached by a tournament return players and stuff like that, which is something that I don't think I've seen attempted since then because there was just no one else with that kind of reach in the community.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
I,
the only
I was
thing I've seen like that myself is just the connections community
them,
doing their like monthly stuff.
yeah,
And
exactly.
that's just whoever they can get.
Yeah, there's a lot of streamers that have done in-houses over the years, but that's
Yeah.
besides the point. But going back to that, like I was very ingrained in that community and I was a very big part of it, but it started to kind of fall to the wayside because Skaz ended up getting employed at Riot, so he
Mm-hmm.
ended up moving on to bigger and greener pastures, and he no longer was making time for Eternal, which,
Yeah.
who can blame him, honestly?
Yeah,
Like
I'd
he got
do
a
the
big
same.
boy job. Like he's
Right.
on the balance team for League now. Like
Oh
how do
my
you go
God,
from
really? Congrats.
yeah, like he went from like spearheading this game to
Jesus.
that somehow.
And I
So
mean, that is the
there's
goal for a lot of creators, honestly.
yeah, like I don't know how he did it, but he sure did it.
Hell yeah.
And point is like he was like the guy. Like everyone went to him for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you were watching a stream, you were watching him. If you were watching YouTube videos, you were probably watching his. He had a monopoly on the content grind. But after he kind of left, no one ever really filled that void, at least not the
Mm-hmm.
same way. Like we had other content creators that were still making stuff for the game, and for a couple of years afterwards, there was still, no shortage of people you could tune into to watch compared to
Yeah.
now, which is its own story. But the point is at the same time that he kind of went to go pursue his career and stopped doing eternal return stuff, which he still pops in now and then and plays the game. He's a very friendly guy. Like his Discord's still up. I could probably pop in there and say hi and he'd be around. But I kind of fell out of the community myself because I'm like, that was my glue. That was what I was kind of there for. And I still have friends from back then that I still talk to and I still play the game with periodically. But for a very, very long time, I was very detached from things. Like I still kept up with the game, I still played it, but I just played it with friends that I knew that I introduced the game to, and that I knew they liked it, and that was enough for me. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I would solo queue or whatever have you. So it's not until very recently that I actually found another community that I was willing to invest in again and actually get so involved that
Mm-hmm.
somehow end up here.
I mean, that's
So
real.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's real. Like that's kind of how it is always.
Yeah.
Like the viewer to streamer, like I would say there's a pipeline a little bit where you get into the game, you play it for a little while, then you see a streamer, right? Then you see a
Yep.
streamer, a YouTuber, and then once that YouTuber and or streamer leaves, you just don't know what to do,
Yeah.
and you have a few options: either you quit the game, or you just find a new streamer.
And that's the
I
thing
was
is
under
that the
something similar.
ratio of like people who actually engage with streamers when they pick up a new game is very small. Like a lot of YouTube, but like you that's the thing. That is the thing is that YouTube content is completely dry for this game. Nobody's making videos and I totally understand why. I totally respect it. But like honestly, YouTube is the platform if I'm being real. And I know that it doesn't get a lot of attention relative to anything, honestly. Like that's what I've heard is for all of the YouTube people that I talked to, Grubs, Athena, Levi, they all said the same thing, is that there's just not enough motivation to post on YouTube. And you know what? I get it, because these videos take them literal months of their own work, of their own time, and their investment to make something that only gets like 1,000 views or less. So I get it,
Yeah.
dude. I get it. I just made a video like that. I spent months doing a collab, irrelevant, but like it just got nowhere, and like I get what that feels like, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it does not help your player base. So
So
what I think is that nailing that pipeline, kind of creating a new one for new players to access, trying to maybe connect the streamers more, because most of us don't even interact. I don't even know. Shelly, I don't know if either of you have interacted before this. Like,
I've never.
No,
I've
sorry.
never spoken to
you
Shelly.
guys probably didn't know that it exists. Yeah, and I mean, maybe it goes nowhere. Maybe you guys talked afterwards. I don't know. Like maybe it happens, or we'll guys will at least just see each other on more panels following this one. You'll probably be on another one together at some point, I'm sure. Like, and maybe you guys will start rating each other. Like, I don't know. That could happen, or you might connect yourself to another bigger content creator, or like there may be more interaction from other creators who aren't in Eternal Connections that join it, and now we have a bigger sphere of people in Eternal Connections. Like you're just building a community basically of
Or
people, and
maybe
it's
you'll see that Ragnell guy in Norms and be like,
mhm.
damn, I didn't like what he said in that podcast. I'm gonna kill him.
And
Fucking run him down.
I will
Level
be
6 while you're
completely.
mid-craft.
Go ahead.
Right?
I
Oh
was
yeah,
just making a joke.
yeah. I mean, I will be completely honest. There is no reason for anyone to take what I said to heart. I will be completely honest. Nimble Neuron is not going to help you. They are not going to help us at all. If anything, me doing this is exactly what they don't want. I'm making casual content that does nothing to influence their competitive side. I'm not talking about patches. I actually want them to like I'm not reinforcing anything they're actually doing. They will hate this. I bet Nimble Neuron will not give two rabbit dicks about like anything I'm doing. But you know what? If they see it, that's all I care about. And people will probably support it because a lot of you are passionate and you will like what I'm doing. Like, it's, I'm just trying to make a community out of this game. I'm trying to give them more resources, more things to engage with, try to bring out some passion in the community, reignite that flame for a lot of people, bring back old creators, give them a reason to stay here a little more, or at least just like help me out and talk and maybe try to reignite some of that, just like create a new wave. Because right now I feel like you're just in a standstill, just a complete empty void, as Ragnell said, of like content, because there's just nothing. No one's making any videos, and like the latest things I've seen is like a what players shouldn't do, or what I wish I knew when I was starting, or just basic shit, just general stuff that you can really just learn from anywhere. Like, you
You know
know,
what I will say? We lost our gimmick. We've lost our way for like truly. I used
yeah,
to always joke that this was the VTuber game because at any point you could open up the section for this game
mm-hmm,
and you'd see at least like 12 different VTubers that were all streaming the game and they would all have like a decent handful of viewers.
yeah,
Right now, if you look at the Eternal Return section, there's only about 6 or so streams that are above us in viewer count, and 4 of them are the same scrims that are currently ongoing.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
It is just different POV. 2 of
that's
them are
just
on the
it.
same team.
I'm assuming you're talking about Super and Frankie.
Correct.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
stream the
I was there
exact
for
same
that
streams always.
actually.
I mean, that's the main reason why I became a caster, because during these times, like, you really don't have an option.
Yeah,
Where, like, if you want to stream the game, well, ranked is dead. You can't really stream norms unless you're playing with viewers.
mm-hmm,
Can't do Cobalt unless you're actively making the community aware that you're queuing Cobalt. Maybe you can get some of your viewers to do Cobalt.
yeah,
Maybe you should also hop in Cobalt. Like, unless you do that,
yeah,
you can't really do Cobalt. So you're just sitting there in queue, as I like to do it, play Wordle and Pokédol like
mm-hmm.
30 years until I actually get into the goddamn game.
Oh my
It's
god.
either that or you become a caster and you try to cast.
Yeah, Athena's
And
trying.
then
I mean,
after the casting, you hope you're alive enough to keep streaming.
mm-hmm.
Like,
So that actually brings me to another thing. So Celeste, you don't know about this yet because you haven't experienced it yet, but the worst period for this game by far is preseason, between
Really,
seasons. It is very bad.
I think I'm
So
already feeling it.
what happens during the preseason is there is no ranked. No one can queue ranked. There's no it's
I
just
actually
norm.
noticed that lately.
So here's why that's a problem. The top level players have nowhere to go, but they still want to play the game.
Yeah,
Guess where they end up?
norms.
Yeah.
Like
So you
that's where
think
I
it's
am.
bad now? Just wait. Do you know how many times during preseason I'll queue into a game and I get jump scared by 9-Eye Cash?
well, you never run into the Jast Frankie Super 3-stack?
Yeah, I've run to that.
Yeah, same here.
It's like you'll
Oh,
just
man.
be like you will never see as many immortal players in one sitting as you will during the preseason. Like
Oh
you'll
my
just load into a
god.
game thinking it's like a whatever thing, and then you'll just see 8 immortal borders in your loading screen.
What
Like
the
what?
hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
like
don't
that's
even get it
Wait, so
started on
that's
stream
why my
content.
ass has been getting whooped lately. Literally, this week has been like the worst of the 3 weeks I played. That's so
don't
Yeah.
funny.
worry, it's gonna get worse. We're not in preseason yet. We're still
Oh
in
my
the
god. So what
season.
I'm hearing is I need to go play Cyberpunk for like the next week.
Yeah. So
Honestly,
like you'll
Right,
know
so
when it's
I'm gonna go play
preseason.
Cyberpunk. I'll be over there.
Put it this way, preseason starts in about 3 weeks. So basically how
Oh
it'll
my
work is once the
god.
season ends, there'll be like a week or so where we're just out of
It's
season.
already bad. I thought it was already preseason. Is it not?
no, it's gonna
No.
get worse. We're still in
What?
ranked season. We're just
No,
at
yeah.
end of ranked season where
What?
there's literally
Yeah, this
nothing.
is a
Some
lull.
people are like
What?
there's literally nothing to do. Some people are fine with sitting at their ranks. Some
What
streamers are
the
just for funning
fuck?
on alt accounts, and it's only gonna get worse. Where during
And
preseason, the
I'm in
only thing you can do,
bronze. What
like
the
here's the
fuck?
thing. Here's the thing. There's two things you can do, like as a creator and as a player, and that's either in-house or nothing.
Oh
That's it.
my
Yeah.
That's it. You
god.
either do
A lo-
in-houses or you do nothing.
a lot of times during preseason, all of the high level players will just do in-houses constantly so they stay out of the queue to not ruin it for literally everybody
Mhm.
else who is
Yes.
just trying to enjoy the game. But
Yeah.
sometimes there's just not in-houses running or they don't get enough people. So
Mhm.
some of them get into norms like a lot of times I will say they don't play their mains. They'll usually learn a different character in that short window because they just have time to goof off. But like that doesn't take away the experience they have with the game. They're still gonna clown on most
Mhm.
of the lobby.
Yeah.
I
Like you
think
can
this
put someone.
already I think I already came to my response, my conclusion for basically what I think in response to the prompt based on all of this. And honestly, I think it's just a matter of we could create more connectivity between the streamers. I'm gonna start like contacting people like this next for the next however long. I'm gonna be like while I'm doing this podcast, I'm gonna be contacting people. This is just gonna be like my day job basically. I mean, it already is. Like I'm gonna be like busting my ass to get our names here. Like I already got the Eternal Connections Discord. They already know that's happening, but there's a number of people who aren't in the Eternal Connections. Shelly isn't. Like, for example. So
I'm also not.
obviously,
I didn't even
there
know it
are
existed.
people who aren't in it, who are streaming, who are doing it by themselves and have no idea how passionate and loving this community can be because they don't directly interact with like the biggest parts of it. So they have no idea. But they probably would love it even more and would do a lot more of these events had they actually known. It's just they don't have anybody that's introducing it to them. So if I go around and I start like talking to these people and go, hey, I'm also a content creator for this game. Hey, we're doing these things weekly. I'm just like trying to get used to the people. Hey, you want to come to this thing? Hey, I got this panel that you can even talk to about like, hey, or check it out. Go look at this and see if you're interested. Message me. That kind of stuff. Like it just creates a more healthy, welcoming, friendly space where creators feel like they are just like interacting with people. We're all friends. Like
Yeah.
we're not like competing with each other. This is a community we all love. This is a game we all love. There's no reason to
Celeste, I
fight
actually
over it.
want to ask something.
Yeah.
Could you send me the invite for the Eternal Connection server? I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know
Me
there was such
too.
a thing.
You're in it, aren't
I
you?
actually never knew.
That's actually where Celeste and I met, funny
Yeah.
enough. So, funny story actually, for as long as I've played this game, I didn't know it existed either. The only reason I found out about it is because the content creator that was mentioned earlier, Levi, he did a video and I was just bored at work one day and I was trying to like find Eternal Return content to listen to, and Grubbs, the person who created the server, was on that panel that they did, and it was
Mm-hmm.
basically just talking a bunch of like quote unquote longtime players. Some of them actually were, some of them not
Yeah.
as long, just about what they thought the state of the game was. Some of them were people like Adri Toma, who is someone who was all over this game and
Yeah.
constantly playing and making content back when solos was a thing. But then the moment they took solos away, he just couldn't enjoy the game the same way. So he ended up
He's actually one
kind
of
of
those that I
bouncing
want to
off the game.
contact pretty bad. Like he's high up on my priority list.
Yeah, like I feel bad because I know he only wants one thing, and I feel it's unlikely that they'll bring
Yeah.
it back, but that's outside the scope of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The point is Grubbs was in that, and she plugged the Discord, and she's like, oh, we do little like weekly events and stuff like that. We have our own little in-house tournaments and stuff like that, and it's just a little place for us to talk, hang out, and play the game. And I was like, you know what? That sounds like exactly what I'm missing because I still play the game regularly. I love the game. So why don't I join this? And yeah, that's like I said, that's part of how I ended up here.
Mhm.
And I would have had no clue if I never clicked that video.
Yeah, and I
Well, that's
mean,
something.
like first hour of my stream, Violent Golfer was the one that stuck around. Day 2, I think, is when he invited me to the Discord. He gave me the link. Him and Saren like double team me. Like
No, like I would actually like a link to that at some
yeah,
point. But I am gonna have
Oh,
to
we got
go
you.
right
yeah.
now because I do have
Quickly
something
grab one,
planned.
Ragnell, if you can, and I'll just keep
Yeah,
Just send it
talking.
to me in DMs if possible.
I'll
Yeah,
post it in the little group thing
yeah.
we
You
got
can
going on there,
post it
so
in the
it's
quick pass.
That
Yeah,
works.
there you
That
go.
works.
yeah.
Good.
I'll hit
Yeah,
you.
All
no,
right.
I will be forced to hop out. Something has come up, so
Don't worry, Ivan. Well, hopefully I
I
get
would
Catch
to
you
love
see you
to
soon,
talk
again.
man.
to you
And
again.
of course, thanks for being here. If you guys don't have him followed on Twitch, you totally should. He's super cool. You can at least go like ramble on about how bad his takes are. Something I don't know. Go say hi. When do you stream, Ivan? Plug your Twitch.
8 p.m. EST, usually till 12
There you
a.m.
go. Same name on screen, guys. Go follow him if you haven't. And I'll see you soon, Ivan. Feel free to DM
No,
me or
no,
anything. Like,
yeah.
connect. Like
No, no, no.
that's basically the whole point. Is to
Yeah,
start
yeah.
talking to creators, become friends.
You know,
Yeah,
I'm
nice meeting
100%
you.
down. Nice meeting you guys. I'm so sorry I can't show up for all this,
Don't worry,
but
man.
No,
it's
you're
great to
good.
talk to you guys.
Thanks for coming at all.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
glad to hear you.
Y'all have a great night. Hope the rest of the panel goes
Hey,
great.
man, sleep well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Get well
thanks.
soon.
Appreciate you guys.
Have a
Take
good one.
care.
There you go.
All right. So glad we got to have Ivan, even if only for like an hour or
Absolutely.
so.
Yeah, he was there for a couple hours. He put out some good takes. We needed to hear him. Like none of us would have known some of the things he said even. So
Yeah.
I'm glad he was here. I mean, honestly, yeah, this is the kind of thing that I want, honestly. I think that there needs to just be more connectivity between the content creators. Something that as creators we can do is just start talking more, be more friendly, and like just kind of like start raiding out to other channels and stick around for a little bit and just encourage our viewers and ourselves and other creators to just, talk and be friends. There is no reason, like I was saying, there's no reason we need to be competitive. Like we do not need to fight each other. This is a community we all share, we all love. And
No,
our
I'll fight
viewers
you. I'll
What
fight
about
you
a
right
game
now.
though? What about a
and
game
Boot up.
though?
Boot up. Boot up.
there's a pipeline of viewers. We all share a lot of each other's viewer base. So it's like, just like why don't we just become a better community as a whole? Like there's more we can do. And like I said earlier, there is no incentive to do so. It really isn't. I have no reason for you to do this other than we all just love the game. Just make it a passion project. Like you don't know. And maybe Nimble Neuron sees this and maybe they do something. Maybe.
I mean, at this
I
point,
doubt it.
putting the
I
game up and
highly doubt it.
queuing is a passion project.
But what if, what if all these content creators start talking? What if we all start hosting events together? What if we create a new wave like existed at one point with Ader Toma, with Skaz? Like, what if we do that ourselves? But like, we don't have to do what they did. We just make our own wave. The game is completely different now, and so is the content creation. Why don't we just figure out what that is and create some new events? Come up with new ideas, work together, talk to each other, do this panel more often, introduce prompts, just like interact more. We don't have a reason to do this, and really like that's just it. It's like if you truly love this game and we truly really want to see it grow, it's really the only thing we can do. And all at the end of the day, the only thing we have incentive for is that maybe Nimble Neuron sees this and maybe they change some things. Maybe they like at least like start interacting with the streamers more, maybe interact with their community more. That's all I'm asking for, honestly, is just a little more interaction with Nimble Neuron, because they seem to not care at all about their NA or EU or South America or player base. Anybody outside of KR really is like they
Yeah.
just don't care. And it's like that
I
that
think
is so heartbreaking. It really is. I came to this game and I see you guys being so loving, passionate about the game and so
I
welcoming, and I'm
think
like, there's this whole population of NA players and EU players that care about it as much as KR does, and it's like they don't like it's sad. It sucks.
Yeah, I think it's less that they don't care and it's more that they're just out of touch. It feels like they just don't know what to do with us. And
Mhm.
instead of trying to figure it out, they've just kind of like kept it on the back burner, like, we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
And then that something has still not been figured out,
And
which
that's
is
the
why we
thing.
still don't have, like, it's a miracle that we have them pushing for things on Twitter like they do
Yeah.
right now. Like just earlier today, I saw them ping Capcom about Monster Hunter, and they made a little shit post where it's Yuki trying to fight a giant mutant chicken or something like that. So they're trying on the platforms at least to try to get like a little more exposure or whatever have you by any means necessary, which is good in its own right. But they got to really make an actual attempt at really getting the game out there and not just relying on a big name streamer bringing their audience to the game
Mm-hmm.
and then fingers crossed that they decide they like the game enough to stay,
Yeah.
because there's not much to stay for as it is right now unless you're already
Right.
deeply entrenched like yours truly
Like me.
here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
remember
and
for
I'm
the
one in a
Twitter.
thousand, honestly.
I remember for the Twitter, like something they tried to do was back when a little while ago when League of Legends like got rid of their tech chests. Um, the Eternal Return page decided to like tweet out and be like, "Hey, we got a bunch of like chests and we have a bunch of
Oh my
keys
god, that
and
was
like
so
in
funny.
currency that you can like unlock and it's all free on Steam."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Whoa, yeah, that's a really
That
great
just
way to get the
became a
game out there."
meme now. We all just say free on stream. Like we just plug that in casual conversation whenever Eternal
And
Return
eventually,
is mentioned because it's a fucking meme at this point. But that
and
just
eventually,
like
like a lot of people like that, me myself included. That like a bunch of people started quote trading and be like,
yeah,
Eternal Return free on stream, and eventually like they caught on to like all these people being like, hey, wow, they're really like quote retweeting this, like supporting this, and they gave us like a little code, for like supporting the game.
yeah. It
Riot could
just like,
never.
and that's the thing I was gonna say is that like I think that I honestly believe that Nimble Neuron would interact with us if we are desperate enough. Honestly, if we are persistent enough, it has shown in the past, communities that are persistent can oftentimes motivate Nimble Neuron to do things, right? And I think that criticism is good, but when you only give a developer a criticism, they're less likely to be motivated to help you. It just comes off the wrong way. And I think that that's the thing that Nimble Neuron doesn't understand is just how, like, just like their KR team, just like everybody else, all these other servers, all these little micro communities are just as passionate as Korea is. We all love this game. We are all playing this game. We want more. We want to like interact with the game. We want to see it grow. We just want to know what we can do to help, and if we had a little bit of motivation, we could start working towards something pretty incredible. It's just like we don't see any of that from Nimble Neuron. And I really hope we can at some point. But like this is just step one, guys. This is gonna take years, maybe. This is gonna be a lot of
Give me
work.
a lobby browser. That's literally all they need to do. I
This
could have
could,
played Overwatch for a year alone with just the shitty customs that people made.
yeah, the
And I
workshop.
did.
The workshop has been so good. I love it. I honestly miss it. But yeah. I mean, it's just like the little things that they could try and do. Just add us like give us a little a custom lobby editor. Give us like a little just a little more incentive, little things we can do. Make it easier for creators to create their own content. Make like variety. There's just nothing to do besides the patches. As Ragnell said, the content is pretty limited on what you can actually make. And that's why it's all the same shit and it's just the same pipeline. Well, then that's not our problem. That's the game's problem. And we need to motivate them like, hey, if you add this, we will push it. We will make content on this. This is something we want. This community, and this is why I'm saying, if enough people support the panel, if enough people like these topics, if we get big names in here and we start making this wave, there's no way they don't see that. There's no way. They have to see it. If enough people are wanting this thing, it's like, well, then this is like your entire player base. We're all asking for this. It's just one little thing. Just give us custom lobbies. Why? Give them a custom lobby finder. Like, give us an editor so that you already have it in your game. It's already there. You could do it when you're playing the character trial. You could spawn things in. You give yourself levels, items, whatever. That just put that in the custom lobby so that we can like make boss Vanya and have like 20 people fight one Vanya and just watch that shit show.
Dear
Like
God.
I don't know. I'm just spitballing and there would be a complete little small community of custom players. But that's the thing. I genuinely think they don't want to do that because it takes money and it takes time and they don't know that we want it. It's not something we've really asked for. I think that in some places I've seen people talk about it, but like yeah, in some places we've seen people talk about it. That's the problem. No one actually like that they see is talking about it. They don't like how are they supposed to know this information? Nobody's making content. So it's like, it's just something we can do. And honestly, I'm gonna be trying hard to pioneer this, because like it's sad. It's sad to see that we're failing in so many areas that really are not that big of a problem. Like it would be so easy to fix some of these issues, and we just can't. And why? That's what I want to know. Why can't we fix these issues? We know what the problems are. We have some solutions for them that would be great. We already mentioned a ton of them in this panel. It's the first one. Like I'm sure there's plenty of things that the long-term players, the long-term streamers have solutions for. And like it's just but we don't talk about it. And I realize that. That's why I made this panel. Is that we're just not saying anything. How is Nibble Neuron supposed to know that this is something we want if we don't tell them? If we don't voice our concerns? We need to
Give
show
us
them that we're
Camilo
passionate.
and a Speedo. What? Continue.
I'm just
Ignore
saying
me.
we just need to show them that we're passionate, and yeah, keep like feeding them criticism. We need to tell them what's wrong with you need to address problems to know it's a problem and for them to fix it. Still give them criticism, but show them we're passionate too. We love this game as much as anyone else. We're not just a toxic community. We're not just pointing fingers at them and say, Nimble Neuron, fix this. We're not just like angry at them. We're angry because we just want these things. We just want this game to be better. We're just trying to help. It's just that, I genuinely think it's just coming across the wrong way. That's why there's this disconnect between NA, EU, and Nimble Neuron. It's just like, it's just the community's reception and how they see it. It's just a developer thing. It's the same shit I've seen in other games. But go ahead.
So, to get us on a brighter note, since this, I guess this is kind of a prompt unto itself, but just because I feel like we've been, for the most part, the overall vibe has been very critical.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is something the game does well? What do you think about the game, besides the genre, appeals to people that makes them want to
Solid
try it in the
question.
first place?
I think that one of the biggest things, obviously, is just the community. This game has inspired a very passionate community somehow. I don't know. It's something about it. Maybe it's the lore, the characters, the gameplay, whatever. Whatever it is, has made a very strong and passionate community. Yeah, there's toxicity at the highest level, but of course that goes for every game. It's just like I mentioned it before in a stream, with where I think Athena was there actually. Like this is one of the most uniquely really cool communities I've ever seen. And it's weird because it's a battle royale MOBA. The fuck? Like if you know what I'm talking about, that makes no sense. That does not track at all. I would think this is going to be like one of the most toxic communities I've ever been a part of, but for some reason I'm wrong. And I'm like, that's why I'm so enthused, because I'm like, I have to know. I gotta know.
So let me redirect real
Okay.
quick, because I feel like the community is something that you find out about after you've already tried the
Yeah.
game.
Okay.
Because you're not gonna like hear about the community and think, "Oh, that's cool. I should try playing their game." I mean, what about the game on
The
its
game
own
itself. Yeah.
without just like what did you see about Eternal Return and think, "Huh, that's a game I could try and maybe like." Because I can
think
tell you my
the
answer. I liked the characters. I thought they have some of the best character
Mhm.
designs I've ever seen in any game, and that goes for the skins. They have some of the best skins I've ever seen in
I
any
think
game.
I mentioned before, you guys remember, I mentioned before on like how it's the combination of the two genres I hate the most in gaming in general. And yet somehow it made it work. I think it genuinely it took all the best parts about MOBA and Battle Royale and somehow just made those parts. It got rid of all the problems that I had with those genres, and now it's just any of the parts that I actually genuinely did like about or like find interesting in those genres. And it somehow made it work. And it's like I think it's just the balance, it's the gameplay loop, it's the survival mechanic, it's the squads. I think that the game in the gameplay loop, looking past all the problems with like the veterans and whatnot, it genuinely is very interesting. Just like the rushing to start and get your items and the flexibility and a lot of characters where you can make your own builds and how it feels like it is genuinely viable. Like most things are viable. You can always just like there's so much versatility in characters and like matchups and squads just being what it is, and like oh my god, it just like just the loop itself feels so fun, honestly. Like there's so
Yeah,
much to it.
it's kind of funny. You kind of got there in the end, but if you remember, I explicitly said besides the genre.
Yeah. I think the gameplay itself is just like regardless of the genre. It's not because of the genre it's picked. It's just the gameplay loop. I don't know what it is. Something about it is just entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, even then, that's still something that you experience after trying the game.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like, say you were just scrolling one day and you saw
Oh,
this
like if
game
I
on.
just found the game,
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. What
I
made the
probably
game stand out
then yeah,
enough
I
for you to
probably just would
to
agree with
even
you. It's just
download it?
and I probably would just agree with you, just like art style. Athena
Yeah,
actually, I'm pretty sure. No, maybe it was you who someone showed me like the season 1 trailer, and I'm like, why did we not use this for the trailer? For like what your advertisement is. Why do I not see this anywhere? I know it's season 1, but like this is really good. This you guys
yeah.
spent a lot of money on this. This is a lot of work. Like this art is actually incredible. Like why don't we use this? Like
It's
if that's
certainly
what I
better
was
than
if that
the
was what I
Reddit
was shown,
ad that
like
have you seen the Reddit ad?
which one? Oh, wait, the one you showed me a while back.
Uh Describe it.
The collab between what's their names? Like, I don't remember who they were, but like it's just like I recognize them from something. But yeah, it was a really awkward, like high energy, almost oldies feeling ad. It was
Yeah,
really
so it wasn't a
fucking
collab. They
awkward.
just got two dudes to like dress up as like hair metal band guys
Yeah,
and just make random quips about the gameplay while random
and
clips
it
of
was
gameplay
really
are played.
bad.
It's really bad. Thankfully, that advertisement was never like officially put out onto sites or anything like that.
Yeah.
But just the fact that there was a point in time where that was what they thought was gonna be like the marketing push they
hmm
needed. Like, forget XQC, we don't need him. We got these guys.
They don't even know how to connect to their player base. They don't know how to market their game. Like they don't know what we like, which
That's
is
what I said earlier. That's what I meant
yeah,
by they're
that's
out
a
of touch.
valid question. Yeah, it's like,
They genuinely don't know. So that's why they haven't tried because
well,
they don't know what to do. And I'm going to be honest with them. As somebody who has literally pitched this game to people and gotten them to play it, and I have taught multiple people how to play this
hmm
game, I don't know how to pitch this game to people.
that's so true. I just told people to pick it up. I'm like, hey, play it with me. I'm playing it. I like it. You might like it. They try it. They hate it.
People okay, so a couple of weeks ago when I was participating in one of the tournaments, I told people at work I was going to be in a tournament for a game or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, what
hmm
game is it?" And I wasn't going to try to tell them, "Oh, it's a tournament return free on Steam." I was saying, "Hey, so you know what League of Legends is, right?" And like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You know what a battle royale is?" "Yeah." Combine the two,
Because
and
that's
like
the
that's as close
selling
as I can
point,
get.
man. That's it. That's the reason I picked
Like,
it up. I like that's it.
but here's the thing about that though: you can't rely on League of Legends to be like the anchor point for your game's
Yeah,
identity. Which this isn't really within the scope of the
or the prompt.
with the prompt,
hmm
but this is just a little fun tidbit. So way back in early access, before they added tactical abilities, did you know they actually tried to originally add Flash to the game, and it was only gonna be Flash?
What?
Yeah, so I forget what they
Huh.
were calling it at the time, but they were going to try to
Blink.
implement Flash, and they were just going to give it to every single character. Just it
Oh
was just a thing
God.
you had that was its own separate cooldown. Like, mind you, we have Blink now, so we
Yeah.
technically got it eventually, but it was just going to be that. There was no other ones or whatever have you. And the pushback from the community was so bad because they basically didn't think this through at all, and they immediately got told like 50
hmm
reasons why adding it to the game would be terrible,
Yeah.
and they were like, oh yeah, we didn't think too hard about that, so we're not gonna do that.
I mean,
But
like it almost just sounds like most responses that we've given them are just negative. And like,
yeah,
from
I
a community
remember
standpoint, it makes sense because I totally get it. They are being dumbasses with a lot of the things that you guys are being negative for. You have valid, like totally valid, but at the same time, you have to also realize if this developer team is a child and you are an adult and you are constantly giving them negative feedback for whatever they're doing and not reinforcing any of the things you actually enjoy, how does that come across to the kid? Think about it in terms of a parent to a child. It's a funny comparison. Don't look too much into it, but I'm
yeah, I
right,
mean, even
aren't I?
this was literally 4 years ago, so
Yeah.
this is a long time ago,
Like it's just
back when
what
they
I've
actually cared about the
observed,
roadmap.
just what I've observed from all the things that I've been fed, it seems generally mostly positive, like mostly negative from NA. And I get it. I get why. Totally valid. They are being dumb, but you can't also only give them criticism. You have to promote the things they do well so that they feel more motivated to do things like that, to keep trying to be better. Because if you are only ever negative and you never really like respond well or positively for the things they've done well and you don't talk about it, you don't engage with it, then it's just not gonna like they're just not gonna be motivated to help. And it's
I
like
mean, if
it's the
you
same on how we're not motivated to help them. It's like they're not doing anything to help us. They're not doing anything to motivate streamers to make more content. They're not interacting with them at
if
all. Same
if you
thing.
allow me to be the cynic for the moment,
Sure.
I'd argue most people would tell you you'd have to give us something to be positive about first. Which is like there's not much, and like
And that's a sad
I'm
thing.
not trying to be a downer about it because I believe in the vision and I would love nothing more than for what we're doing to bear some type of fruit. But
Yeah.
like you gotta figure you're doing this off the backs of several people that have tried doing the exact same thing
Yeah.
before. And this is people in the community that had established followings already, not people trying to break their way into it.
Hmm.
And none of them could do it. Which
Right.
again, it's not me trying to be negative and say, "Oh, it
No,
cannot
of
be
course not.
done." It's just like, it is a very uphill battle because it is a battle that has been fought many times and has not really historically gone very well.
Yeah, and I'm coming into these with like zero expectations besides like it probably isn't going to go anywhere. Honestly, my opinion is like it's probably not going to do anything. I can talk all this big talk. I can have these conversations. I can try and get Nimble Neuron's attention, and even if they do see it at some point, it's like they're probably not going to do anything with it. Like it's probably gonna go nowhere. I know that plenty of people have tried harder and had more resources and bigger waves than I will probably ever make, but you can't tell me that it can't happen, right?
Oh,
It
no, for sure.
totally
Like I said,
could.
I believe.
I'm only riding off of that hope. And tell you what, guys, if I do this for a year and it goes nowhere, at least I'll have my own little committed player base. At least I'll have my own little committed group of friends. Like at the end of the day, the only thing that I care about as a personality streamer is that I made friends. I don't care about anything else. If this game does not bear fruit, I'll just leave. I'm a variety streamer. I'll just find something else. If this community doesn't go anywhere and I can't like, if I can't do it, then I just can't do it. And like there's no point in really like trying to, I don't know. I mean, it's just like I don't want to be like too negative either, because the whole point of the whole thing is to try and be as positive as possible, and try to find some kind of optimism so that maybe we can try and encourage other people to do the same, because I think that this community really needs it. Like,
The real eternal return was the friends we made along the way.
it
That's what
honestly
keeps us
is.
eternally returning.
We keep coming back to it. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe this motivation, maybe this passion I've got as a new player will be seen by some of the older players like Adriatoma or Levi, and maybe they come back and make something on it, or at least interact with us and like hang out for a bit. And maybe that just like creates more positivity. That's really all it is. It's like I don't expect them to come back. I don't. Like they're singles players, they're solo players. The game's died out for them a long time ago, and me being a random guy they barely know is not gonna encourage them to come back. That's not my goal. If I get them onto the cast, they feed me info, we get more insights from the older players. It'll be fun. It's just genuinely a positive thing. It's just to create more interaction. That's all it is. And maybe it goes somewhere. Maybe. I mean
Yeah.
the
The
you
thing
don't
that
know.
frustrates me about that is like it would be so easy to give these people their cake.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to enable solos as a mode you can queue into anymore. Like
No.
let's be honest. It was okay. So before I even say this, so I'll never forget when they initially introduced ranked to the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just threw it out there. And by that I mean they threw out ranked for all three game types that were available, which was solos,
Why?
duos, and squads.
Yeah, if you
So
had 100,000
overnight,
players, you could do that. Like,
overnight, we went from 3 possible queues to 6.
oh God.
You can imagine how well that
That's the
went.
most half-assed way to do it.
I don't know if I could still find a clip for it, but I remember there was a clip of people that were queuing up for squads ranked, and they waited in queue, I think, for 3 hours for one game.
God.
It was
Oh
absolutely
man.
absurd. So understandably, they were like, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't do it like this." So they ended up having to do kind of what they're doing now, where they basically rotated windows where certain modes were available for ranked
Yeah.
and which ones weren't, because otherwise you just wouldn't get Q pops. And like, forget ranked, norms were also basically impossible to pop at that point because you had people queuing solo ranked, solo norms, duo
Hmm.
ranked, duo norms, squad ranked. So it's like that was before Kobold existed. But my point is like, fragmented as our player base is now, you couldn't just introduce solos again and be like, "Hey guys, have fun with it." Like, forget the
Yeah.
balancing nightmare that would be. But like,
Oh
it
god.
wouldn't be sustainable for the player base because yeah, sure, you'd have some people that would go back to being solos only, or maybe even some people would come back to be
Yeah.
solos only. But you could also, like, at the very least, what they need to do is give us the ability to do solo customs.
Yeah.
Like, you can technically do solo customs as it stands, but you can only do 8 people. Solo
Yeah.
games before were 18.
That's true.
So you could just
It just expands upon the we need customs to be more fruitful, basically. It's like the
make them more modular.
yeah, makes it
I
it
mean,
basically it's just the consensus of that conversation. Is like really we just need them to change customs, make it more like just make it like you said modular. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, as it is, they still have issues with spectating. So it's
Hmm.
like they gotta, there's a whole lot of kinks that need to be worked out.
And if
Like
they
you can't even
really
see
wanted to
character
like if
select.
they really wanted to make customs something that could actually like be, deeply interacted with, obviously it's only going to probably work within the communities we already have. So there's not a whole lot of incentive for them to do it besides just the connections community and like whatever else saying that we want this thing. How many people actually want it? Like that's the problem is that they probably don't think enough people want that, and KR probably didn't give a shit either. So it's like, that's the thing is that there's a disconnect, and if we can find some way to, get an idea of how many people actually would love this idea, like we could totally try. We could totally try. I mean, I'm gonna put this thing out there, and maybe it gets some attention, and hopefully we can work something out. Like,
Yeah, what I think you
it's
should
just gonna
do
pull away from
genuinely,
it's just gonna pull
if you,
away from competitive. Like that's all it is.
if if you really want to get to the heart of this issue, what we should do is you should try to talk to some of the people who actually have a finger on the pulse of things on the
Hmm.
Korean side of things. Like ask Nero, ask Shuvi Senpai. Like he's
Yeah.
someone who like kind of tacitly knows like what's going on with KR as opposed to
Hmm.
just me guessing at it because I don't interact with anyone who plays
Yeah.
on KR.
If I could
But
talk to Nero, I think that that would be incredibly helpful. But I don't know. I don't know if I can do that. I'll have to try.
I mean, you miss every shot you don't take.
True. That's the whole reason I'm doing this. Like I don't know. This could take off. This could go nowhere. But how do I know unless I try? It's the whole point of
Yeah.
today.
That being said, I'm starting to get to the limits of what my voice can tolerate, so I might need to
Yeah,
call it.
that's true. I didn't even think we were gonna go this long. It's already 7 p.m. Jeez.
Yeah, it has been 2 hours.
Obviously, like the fact that this has gone on so long, the fact that we've all had so much to say, um, it's apparent there's a lot of issues to discuss, and we're all very excited to talk about it. So, if you guys are this excited, I imagine there's plenty of other people who will be just as excited, if not more, to talk on certain topics or bring me some things to look at. So,
I'm gonna
yeah,
be
I
honest, I
mean,
don't even need a topic. I can just talk.
yeah, that's really all the motivation I need. I'm probably just gonna like invest into this in more gradually and try to get other people onto the cast and see where it goes. First, I need to make a video and post it and see what happens and what people think in post. But like, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
honestly, be obnoxious about it. Post that shit everywhere. Make sure people know that you did something so they at least look at it.
exactly. Like I'm gonna
Yeah,
be
don't
talking
just
to
post it in like
people
one
and
place and be like, guys, please look at my video. I worked really hard. No, it's like,
no,
no,
I'm
you will
posting this
watch.
thing. Yeah,
You will
please.
listen.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah,
But
I
yeah,
mean,
like I said, I think that's gonna be a wrap for me. My throat is
yeah.
giving out as we
Anything
speak.
like to close things out, Shelly, for the night?
Uh, just like an opinion here from Ragnell and possibly you if you were here during this, but
Sure.
actually no wait. Ragnell, what did you think about? I know they're gone now, but the battle zones back when in the, like,
Oh
when they
God.
were in the game. Do you think that they should come back in any sort of way if possible?
So this is definitely something that's very divisive about this season in general, besides the whole VLS thing. Um, At first, I was kind of like, okay, I get it, because there were so many times with battle zones where you would literally just walk in and just get a free objective because it would be uncontested. But
Hmm.
then there'd be other times where you'd have like 3 or 4 squads in there and you'd be in there for like a whole night cycle. And, you'd get a force core out of it if you won. But if you spent all that time in there and then you ended up not winning the battle zone, it was so much time wasted. And it's like, I get it. But, there was still merit to it. And it gave you, like, it was good for setting the pace of the game,
Hmm.
because you knew right away, it's like, okay, are we feeling strong? We go for the battle zone, we get stronger. Do we not feel strong? That's fine. We let people fight in the battle zones. We go after alpha, we go after, whatever it is we want to do. We keep farming, all that good stuff. There's so many things that came with battle zones, and a lot of it was definitely lost. And now I feel like the night 2 and beyond is a little awkward, because there's no more battle zones filtering people in to have those fights. People typically don't fight as much as they did before. And on top of that, if they do fight, it usually results in one team snowballing really, really, really hard. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you've seen it. There's so many lobbies where you'll see one team walk out with like 18 TK, and it's like the next highest is like lucky if they get 7 or something like that, which has been a very constant problem, I feel like, this entire season. Like, not to say that people didn't snowball like that before, but I feel like it's the worst it's been in recent
Yeah.
history. But I do think battle zones could stand to come back. Like, I don't think the abandoned labs that they introduced this season are so impactful that they, make up for the lack of battle zones.
Hmm.
I do like abandoned labs. I was kind of iffy about them at first because I didn't think that they were rewarding enough, but I've kind of come around to them
They've
because,
changed them, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's not even just the updates, it's just the practicality of them. Because
Hmm.
sometimes it's not even a matter of, oh, we need to get to the abandoned lab because we need what's in there. It's just a case of, we're in a really bad spot on the
It's
map and
just
we have
bad
this loop card, so it's
positioning,
a free
yeah.
teleport.
It
It's like
gives
a
you
free
free,
reposition.
yeah.
And it used to be stronger because on the initial release, when they introduced this system, whenever you were leaving a facility, you would be able to see where everyone is
Oh
on the
God.
map.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
like it gave you
Oh
it
wow.
gave you a ping as if you were respawning, so you could
Okay.
see how many people were in a zone. But they changed that real quick because it was
Yeah.
too strong. So
Yeah.
you could be on day 4 and you just get a map scan,
Interesting.
which if you don't know, that actually used to be a thing in the game, period. So you know how whenever night 1 is ending and it goes into day 2, you get a
Hmm.
little ping of where everyone is at that exact moment?
Yeah.
That used to happen every single night to day
I
swap.
could have figured that much.
Yeah, so day 3, you get a ping of where everyone is. Day 4, you get a ping where everyone is. Day 5, you get a ping where everybody is. So you could not hide.
That's huh. Okay. All right.
They changed that.
Yeah.
They changed that. Thankfully, that was a
Mm,
couple of seasons ago now.
from what I know about battle zones and the clips that I've seen from Ragnall, it looks like honestly, I want to try it. I wish that I could, and I hope that at some point
Yeah,
it comes back, so maybe at least I can do it, or at least in the custom lobby. Fuck, just feel like, please give us customs,
yeah,
God, change
yeah.
it.
I mean, they already said that they're not married to the idea of them being gone forever. So it's very
Yeah.
possible that when we see the dev diary that's coming out in like a
Hmm.
week, actually, I feel like that's going to be a big tone setter for how things are going to proceed, because
Mm.
this season was very divisive,
Oh God, now that I think
very
about it,
much
after
so.
that thing comes out, depending on how it goes, could completely change the next cast.
Yeah, it really, like, that in itself is going to be a topic of discussion. There's going to be a lot
Oh
to
my
talk about.
God, there's gonna be a
So, because
post-cast. Oh.
yeah, so here's the thing. If you don't know how those go, it's going to be a variety of things. They're going to
Uh-huh.
tease all of the things that they're going to do for the next season. They're going to talk about whatever their plans are at the given time. They're also going to show us all of the skins that are going to release over the next season, as
Yeah.
well as the 2 characters that are going to come in the following season. For instance, we already know the 2 characters we're getting next season. I forget the girl's name, but she's like a gamer gremlin streamer, so everyone's
Mm.
excited for her. And we have another dude named Istvan who's coming. And we'll be knowing the next 2 characters after them with this stream. So that in itself is going to be a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But point is between that and then preseason approaching and all that, it's going to be an interesting time. So that's really going to make or break, I think, for some people, what the next couple of months is going to look like.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, I mean, It really is just dependent on that. Yeah.
That all to say, battle zones I think still have a place in the game and they could come back.
Yeah.
Like the other thing too is they didn't used to have zones reopen up after a certain time. It was just once it closed, it closed. And
Mm,
it also was impacted by how many people were still alive. So if the lobby was wiping really quickly, there would be an accelerated closure of zones. So instead of having like 2 zones closed, you'd have like 4 zones closed and stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, I think battle zones they still have a place. They could come back. I think people miss them more than they don't.
absolutely.
The other nice thing too is if your team won a battle zone and you won it early into the night, that entire zone was still red for
Yeah.
everyone else, but your team was safe. So if you got into a bad engagement and needed to retreat, that was an entire safe zone for you that they couldn't follow you into.
Yeah. There's a
Or
lot of
if you
like
just
gameplay around that. Yeah.
yeah, like mind you, all the farm like explodes and isn't in the zone anymore. So you can't just farm in
Hmm.
there. But if there's a kiosk, you can buy. If there's,
Yeah. At least
like
it's like
any
it's just a pause moment rather than something you stay
yeah.
in.
Which you could argue that the abandoned lab kind of does now, but like it's not the same, you know?
No.
Like I feel like when you have like the only thing that kind of sucks about the battle zone is it's just the way that the reward was distributed was it was a little tab that would appear on the right side, and then you had to
First
click
come,
on a
first
button
serve.
to claim reward, and then
Yeah.
whoever on your team clicked it first got it. So if you were playing with randoms and you had a loot goblin on there that was fast with his hands, he could just take all like he just take whatever.
Yeah.
It also promoted some other things too, like say like you're playing an ADC and your entire build is like all trees or whatever have you, but you won against another team in there, so Mithril's available.
Hmm.
It was economically more advisable to just take the Mithril, even if you couldn't immediately use it, just because it was more valuable. I
Right.
mean, maybe that's not how everyone thought about it, but that's how I tended to think about it, which I felt like made sense. Like, there's more value in this free Mithril than a free tree, even if I could use the free tree more immediately.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, it's a matter of like what you can use at the time. So
Obviously, I wasn't there for Battle Zones, so I have no input. But from what I've seen, I think they do look interesting. I kind of I should look into more, or at least maybe like at some point I can try it myself. Yeah, I mean they look interesting. That's really all I can say.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, for my money, I think they were a good pace setter because
Mm-hmm.
coming into day 2 immediately, okay, plan around going to this battle zone. Okay, we're gonna fight for this. We're planning to fight. It promoted aggressive play because
Right.
people were actively being encouraged to fight. Now with them being absent, it's like, okay, well, I guess we just go try to get more farm question mark. Like to compensate, their whole thing was, oh, we're gonna make it so 2 additional boxes drop, so there's more objectives on the map for people to like potentially fight over.
Yeah.
But what you're actually seeing now is because of teams snowballing so hard, there's less teams around the map in general. So it's just one team going around just getting all the objectives, and then there's no one to stop them, and the strong keep getting stronger.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's also just awkward that like for a lot of people it's like if you're not super in the know with your macro or know where to go or what to prioritize, you're kind of just aimless for a while. It's like what do we do? Like we haven't seen any pings. Both alphas got taken.
Yeah. I kind of feel that way now. It's like there are some times where I would probably have to have Athena actually coach me because like you guys already know how to do that, or at least she does. Like
Oh, I 100%
I have
have like
no clue as a new
I,
player.
I I IGL for most teams that I play for, so
Yeah.
I'm usually directing at all
Yeah, I have
times.
no freaking clue what to do at like day 3 because I mean, I've already got my build. I've started getting gold weapons. Maybe I've taken some fights. Maybe I've won some fights. Like, what do I do? I mean, there's alphas and stuff, but it's like the majority of my games I play, there's already teams on them, and then we just get wiped if we even try to go close to it. So it ends up what usually happening in most vast majority of times is just going and farming instead, and hoping that we find something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the hardest part of the entire game is day 3 to night 4. That entire window of
Yes.
time is the sink or swim for a lot of
Because
people. And if you
that's where
don't know,
most teams die. Like that's where all the objectives spawn. That's where also all these teams fights are happening. Like,
I think it's not even that. It's the part of the game that has the least direction.
yeah, that's true.
Because day one going into night one, you know what you're doing. Night one to day two, most people still kind of know what to do. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, tree is spawning, meteorite spawning, we go after one of these.
Mhm.
After night two, there's nothing left for you to just immediately be like, okay, this is a concrete thing that I know we go for.
Yeah.
Like the
It's
best
game
you get
dependent.
is the trees that spawn in stream and forest. After that, it's just okay. There's purple boxes. Oh wait, no, another team got that. Okay, we have Omega to look forward to on night 3. Oh, never mind, someone killed him on spawn. Okay, what now? So if you don't know where farm constantly spawns, if you don't know how to properly manage your credits or stuff like that, like you just end up lost. You just kind of wander around hoping something happens.
Literally me. Oh my god, that's just me every day. That's what I do.
Don't worry, I have taught so many people how to play this game. I understand the
Oh,
pain points.
man. The game does not help you at all with that.
Yeah, but see, that's outside the scope of what a tutorial should be doing, because
Yeah,
that starts
of
coming
course.
into more advanced, like, you know, it's all macro. That's
Yeah,
all
it's
things
just
you
stuff you learn
genuinely will learn
eventually
from
through,
playing the game. It comes
yeah,
to
through
you, but
playing and through videos and whatnot. Yeah.
yeah, experience is the best teacher for
Mhm.
that sort of thing. That's not like that's like a game feel thing. You can't
Yeah,
teach feel.
that's true.
You know, it's also gonna depend on like your comp. It's gonna depend on the enemy comps. It's gonna depend on what objectives you were going for before, where you are on the map, what's
Mhm.
available to you, RNG, because you could have a terrible game, and then suddenly 3 wolves drop you back-to-back trees.
Yeah, Caleb, that was a crazy game we had earlier today.
Right?
There's so many trees that, oh my
How many do we
god,
have at total? Like 5? 6?
definitely like 5 or 6. Yeah,
I heard you say 5 at the time, I'm pretty
It
sure.
was like
But
5
like that's what
trees,
I
man.
mean. Like sometimes like everything will be going wrong, and then suddenly you'll just get like 5 trees, and it's like, oh, okay, suddenly we're in the game.
Oh my god.
You know, it's one of those things. But like to
Yeah,
get to that point, even though it also, of course, requires luck, you also
yeah,
still need to know, like, okay, where have other people rotated to? Where can we go to farm? What
yeah,
is coming off of cooldown? Like, what can we go after? Are there mutants alive and stuff like
exactly.
that? Sometimes you'll just check a corpse and nobody looted it and they just had a myth roll, and it's like, oh, that's a thing. I've had that happen.
Yeah. And they're too caught up in fights to stop for a moment and check one body. Yeah.
It is incredible how many times that I've just come upon bodies and I just check them because I'm like, let me see what they got. And they just have credits on them. So many times people are like, oh, we got third partied and we have to run, or we got distracted chasing the last person on their team and forgot to loot the person we killed already. And then you
Yeah.
just go back, hey, payday for me.
Yeah. Extra 15. There you go. And it does make a difference. It absolutely does.
Oh, it absolutely does. It could be the difference between getting 20 credits to upwards of like 120.
Yeah. No, that's nuts.
I digress though. You have
Honestly,
now officially spent my voice with the battle zone
yeah.
talk.
I think that you just like take a minute. Just take a
I'm
break.
gonna take more than a
Breathe.
minute.
Go
I'm
get
gonna
some
take
water.
my leave.
Oh man. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's definitely me and Shelly's turn if we have anything else to say. Um
Yes.
I mean, genuinely, I
My
think that the consensus from today, if anything, is just that like more interaction, good thing. Uh, it's really on us to just do that. Like, hey, I mean, I'm here, I'm down. If you like what I'm doing, just continue being here, just continue supporting. That's the best thing you can do for me. Maybe talk to some people and tell them if they play this game or there are other creators and you guys know more people, tell them about it. Ragnell's already doing that, and it connected me to Vixarius, so I mean, it works. It works. It
Eternal
definitely works.
Return free on Steam. If you're somehow seeing this podcast and made it to this point and you are for some reason not already playing the game, go try it. I
Go
promise
try
you it
it.
is fun. It
Oh
is rough
yeah.
around the edges, but it is a good time. It is
Find some
worth the
friends to do it.
investment.
Don't do it solo, please.
Yeah, that too. Also, definitely like if you like, the community is very open as well. They're
Hmm.
very friendly towards new players. Something I didn't get to talk about very much, but this isn't really a problem these days because, well, squads is the primary game mode,
Yeah.
but when solos was the primary game mode, it was very much agreed upon against for all experienced players that if you saw someone that was very clearly a new player, that you would just kind of leave them alone. You wouldn't bully them, let them figure themselves out, unless you're a
Mm-hmm.
Luke player, in which case, who cares? You don't have rights anyway. But point is for the most part, you will find people more than willing to play games with you, teach you, because we all know that learning this game is a crapshoot. We've all been there. It sucks, but you get through it. And once you get to the other side, I promise that there is a fun game there that is worth putting time into. Also, join the Eternal Connections
Mm-hmm.
Discord. I'm sure we'll get a link in the chat at some point,
Oh yeah,
or
I'm already
if
doing it.
you're seeing this on YouTube, it's going to be in the description, hopefully.
Absolutely.
So, check it out. We're all there. It's all friendly. It's all good vibes for the most part. So, yeah, I'm gonna hop out on that note.
Hell yeah, man. Thanks for being here.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Been a pleasure meeting you.
Likewise, of course. Always
We'll be
happy to meet
seeing you again
people
for
that
sure.
I'm
Not
sure
the
you
last.
will.
This is not the
Hopefully,
last shit take you guys will hear from Ragnell. Get used to him.
no. Oh yeah, no. I could talk for so many hours about so many different things. I already have, and probably will again.
Yeah. We probably will even do like non-quick casts, so where we just sit and grab some hot drinks and just talk on stream, like, and just
The
maybe
day
play
I
some
saw a
customs and just
butterfly.
dick around for several hours. Yeah, just hang out.
Yeah. Oh, actually, so I know I just gave my whole closing spiel, but I just remembered I did want to mention this earlier and it just came
Okay.
back to me. So this kind of goes to the whole effort thing on Nimble
Yeah.
Neuron's part. So obviously you were just playing the game. Well, I forget. When you started playing the game, did we still have the quote unquote Christmas themed island going on where they had like the
No.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I think I was there at that point.
So
Okay.
Yeah,
this past year, they, in like a few select zones, they kind of put like a few Christmas themed things there just to say,
Okay.
hey, we're festive and stuff like that. Especially in the lobby, like the big
Christmas
circle,
tree.
like in the middle,
Hmm.
yeah, it was a big Christmas tree.
Cute.
So that is actually quite a bit less effort than they used to do. I can actually drop you a clip of this later,
Okay.
but they used to not just do that. They made the entire map winter themed.
Oh
Like there was
shit.
snow everywhere, and it was a completely different look. Like it was the same island, but it looked very different just because everything was snow covered.
And see,
Everything was.
that exactly is what I'm talking about
We
when it comes to
don't do that
casual.
now.
That's what I mean with casual experience. That does not benefit the competitive players at all. That is purely a casual thing. And they used to do that. Why not now?
Yeah.
Why'd you stop?
It beats the hell out of me. I will say too, I don't know if this is just like a placebo thing because I've talked about this with someone else, but if you look at old footage for this game, the game actually looked better. I
Yeah.
think. I think
I
like they
think
did like a
that
graphical
might be
overhaul
placebo.
at some point a few years ago,
That might be a
but like
placebo.
the
Yeah.
game was more atmospheric at one point. Like the island was a little foggier. It looked more
Yeah, it was
desolate. Like you were
darker.
really fighting on an abandoned
That's
island
why I was like,
and
that
stuff.
horror tag actually might not be far off. I mean, the game is like really dark.
Yeah, it used to be darker. They've
Yeah,
actually brightened it up
literally.
significantly,
Yeah.
which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's,
It's
just
debatable. It's personal preference,
I think for
honestly.
the sake of gameplay, it's the clarity is,
Yeah.
preferred, but aesthetically, I feel like something was lost.
If this game was more heavy on the lore side and casual side, there would be room for that. But they're not, so it just doesn't
Yeah,
make sense to have it. But like if this was a lore involved game, that would definitely make sense to have. Like League takes a more dark tone, and they just never changed it.
which is funny, by the way, because it feels like they want to push in that direction, but they're afraid
They're
to, and I
afraid
don't
to.
blame them. I
Why?
don't blame them, honestly. It's the Overwatch situation again. It's like, do you actually try to push PvE in your PvP game, or is it a lost
They don't
cause,
even
or do
need
you
to.
just give
Just
up?
make lore for your characters. League has one of the most in-depth lores ever, and yet apparently, like, it only comes through character bios. That's about it. Like,
I
the
mean,
Arcane is the most lore they've ever gotten. So,
yeah, they kind of do that, but it's weirdly buried because you have to get achievements in
like,
order to even
what
see that, and
if,
they're only
yeah,
little
what if it was
snippets.
just character bios, and what if you went off of just do small things like League already does? I mean, just Just make character bios and then make occasional little character intros or interactions. Or like you already have your little comics. What if they were animated? Animations cost a lot of money though. So, if they wanted to actually do that, like Overwatch, actually part of the reason why Overwatch 1 took off back in 2016 was because of the hype behind the trailers. A lot of people don't know that outside of the Overwatch sphere, but one of the reasons why that game did so well and was Game of the Year 2016 was because of the sheer amount of hype from the casual. It
The
became a
Brothers,
competitive
the
game.
Brothers trailer when that came out,
Mm,
I was gonna say,
right? Oh my
but
God, Reinhardt?
like, here's the thing, right? Here's what's crazy to me. There's so many characters on this island that know each other, are friends or
Yeah,
rivals and stuff like that, because everyone knows each other because
and I
of the
want to
experiments and
know,
whatnot.
but like
But
they don't
they
tell me.
never interact outside of like comics that they do and
Yeah, and they're
stuff like
not
that.
canonical.
Yeah, we literally just had a character release that is name dropping two other
Yes.
characters that they have relations to. They never talk in game at all.
And that's really just kind of the direction I wanted to take with this prompt today. It was just like there's obviously casual things you can do, and this is not a big company, so they have limited resources. If you take away from the competitive scene to try and make lore, you want to make custom games, or you want to make a new lobby type, or whatever you're trying to do is going to pull resources from other things. That is just simple game development knowledge. Like that's going to happen. Are you willing to sacrifice such frequent updates or such character development or whatever that it pulls out of to get those things? Because you're going to suffer in other areas. And it might damage your reputation with some of the older players. But like those players are leaving anyway, man. They're already leaving. Like you're trying so hard to maintain these long-term players, but you're not even doing a very good job at that. Like, come on. It really is only working for KR. Like, your old players are leaving, man. It's like at least if you're going to
Yeah.
tailor for a community, you have a better shot, in my humble opinion. You have a better shot at getting a new audience than maintaining your old one. You really do. Because if you only try the latter, you're just gonna stick to that and they're gradually just gonna leave. And no one's gonna find your game and it's gonna die out. That's just that's just facts. It's going to happen. You have to try to get new players. Every game needs players. You have to. You got to do something. Like if it's bringing that effort back to the Christmas events, or like every so often you create like free stuff, and because everyone loves free stuff, like just little things. It does not need to be big grandeur events. It does not need to be anything crazy. Little things add up for sure. If you just put a little bit effort in and just give us things, you know, like just little crumbs is enough. That's just a step in the right direction. It shows that you watch this nimble neuron and you do want to try and work together. Like that's all I need. Give me a sign. Do something. Like just give me something, you know? Oh, honestly, there just needs that's just the consensus. It's just there needs to be more interaction with the community and with the developer, and we got to try and like we just got to try. Like maybe this goes nowhere. This probably won't go anywhere, but we don't know unless we try. And I'm a new face with a new level of passion and a new vision for this game basically that we haven't seen in a long time. Maybe be completely different. Like we'll see. You know, just new guy, new face, and we'll see where it goes. But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
sounds good.
that's the vision for this panel. That's the vision for all of the content I'll be making. Like this game looks great, and this community's awesome, and I want to see it go somewhere. And if anything, like I said earlier, I'll just make my friends. I'll just make friends, and maybe like if this game dies out, we'll all at least be friends by then, and we'll go like, hey, you guys want to try this new MOBA? We'll just leave and go try something else. Fuck it. At
Yeah,
least I'll have
I've said
people
it.
to go play
I've
something
said
else
it
with.
before. I'm here till the wheels fall off the bus. I'm not going
Exactly. Yeah,
anywhere.
I'm here
So
until exactly that. Yeah.
I've been here for almost 5 years at this point.
Hmm.
I'm not going anywhere.
I don't want to
I'm
leave
staying
this
here
game
now.
off on a bad note and like leave everyone behind. If I could get to a point where maybe I do just form like a small community, make a good group of friends, and I've just got guys or just people to hang out with, and we play games together, we make content, we do collabs, we do fun stuff, and like, that's enough for me. That's all I really need, honestly. I mean, that's the only expectation I have coming out of this is just to have people to talk to and friends. because I am in the market for that. So, you know,
Mm. That being said, before I get sucked into another tangent, I'm
yeah,
going to
let's
get off.
let's
So
close things out.
Yeah.
yeah,
We'll
so
all do
thank
our
you
little
for having
sign off.
me. You all have a good evening, and I will talk to you all later.
Later, Ragnell.
Good night.
Good night. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. I
I'm
think
gonna
that's probably it for you too, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna skedaddle on out of here. Okay.
Same. That's probably a good place for me to call tonight as well. You guys can probably expect to see another one of these. I have more prompts. Let's wait for me to post this one first before we talk about another one. I'm gonna get it as soon as possible. Honestly, I mean, with how tame it was, I probably could just probably just upload the VOD without having to do any editing. I don't think I really need to tweak it at all. It's probably just good to go right away. I'll probably spend the rest of the night actually just preparing it, and then I'll look over the footage and tweak whatever I need to do and go from there. Like there's some tangents I could totally cut out just to shorten it if I really need to, honestly. I mean, how many hours did we talk? I don't even know. Not very long
About
actually. Yeah, I just need to cut out
two
the
and a half
segments.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah, I just need to cut out the prior segments. Yeah, actually, no, yeah, it just looks longer because I've been streaming since my normal time. Yeah, it's actually not as long as I thought. Perfect. Oh, I'll just upload it straight away. Oh yeah. I told you guys to go support Ivan. Obviously, go support Shelly as well. What's your stream time schedule? Shout out your channel. Plug yourself. Anything you want to say?
I had fun coming on here.
Mhm.
Wish I could have had more to say, but I couldn't really think of what to say.
That's totally alright. I mean, like I said before, coming in here, like there's probably going to be, if you ever come back on, there will probably be other days maybe where you have more things to say. Like, what if there's something that just appeals to you more? You know, you might have like a day where you're talking a lot. That might happen. I mean, I didn't even talk all that much, to be honest. Like, it was mostly just Ragnell and Ivan when he was here. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just
Well,
gonna
yeah,
happen. Like, I'm just glad that you were here.
I had fun.
Exactly. Yeah. Gave you little tidbits. I mean, that's the whole thing is like they're, you know, you're here. You don't necessarily need to say much. Like, it just makes what you do say more important. But yeah, from what I know, Shelly's super chill. Absolutely go plug his channel, or go check out his channel because he doesn't want to do it, so I'll do it for him.
Oh.
Go support him, guys. Go help him out because he's super cool. I've watched his content sometimes. He's super chill like me. Hangs out with his friends. And we'll probably see him again. So at least I hope so.
I'm gonna
'Cause it was-
hop out of the call here, man. You have a great night. All right.
Yeah, you too. I'll see you around.
Peace.
Peace. Very cool night, honestly. Very. I'm glad that it was so relaxed. I mean, we still